What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your more phenomenal host, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus More Phenomenal, your weekly stop for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman news and reviews right here over on our YouTube page, A-Plus More Phenomenal, streaming live for you guys over on our YouTube page, also over on Twitch, as well as our Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much, wherever you're certainly joining us from here today, kicking off your weekend right, as I always certainly say around here, because I love talking Power Rangers with you guys today. And this is your opportunity to certainly go ahead and voice your opinions and your thoughts, because remember, at the end of the day, these are just my A-plus opinions, but I certainly always want to know yours. So please let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs. And we've got a couple topics that we're going to be diving into for you guys today. Of course, we're going to get into Dino Fury Season 2, Episode number 7. Can't quite remember the title of this episode, but we're diving into it to certainly say the least. And then, of course, we got a bunch of Ultraman news, a couple of tokusatsu items here or there, and then, of course, your live viewer questions. So not super stacked today in regards to news and articles and things like that, but I'm sure it will definitely lend to some great discussion topics as always. There was a last-minute article that wound up popping up on Twitter that I wind up discovering as of today, but I might actually hold off on talking about that news article till next week. I believe it was actually a website wind up interviewing the stunt coordinator for, or not the stunt coordinator, but I believe the second unit director for Dino Fury in regards to seeing some of the choreography, fight pieces, and things like that. So they had the opportunity to sit down and interview them. And we're going to go ahead and probably talk about that next week. So I will, in fact, go ahead and put that on the docket and save that bit of information. But should be a good day today, guys. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's see who's in the live chat. And remember, guys, especially if you're in the live chat, if you come through each and every weekend, if you love our content, do us a big favor, hit that like button, guys. It really does go a long way. And if you ever do come back to the video, feel free to leave a comment. That definitely helps. So let's see who's in here with us. We got 13 people certainly joining us today. Some people coming in and out. And always remember, make everybody certainly feel welcome and respected here whenever they join the community. We got Francois in here joining us from good old France. Thank you very much. We got Roberto in the house. Thank you very much. We got Ibase as well. Certainly good to see you. Kurt Marino is joining us today. We got Michael Rhymes in the house. Good old Jericho Gonzalez gracing us with his presence. We got Carlo in here. Did I mention you, Carlo, already? Nope. Okay, there's just so many people. I'm losing track of everybody now. John Schuyler's in the house. Good old Gabriel certainly coming through today. We got Nicole Robertson. Always good to see you as always, Nicole. Good old Harrison. Violet. Good to see you, man. Appreciate you coming through today, Harrison. Jordan, good to see you, buddy. Thank you very much, man. We got Ram Jam in the house also. I am kind of curious if any of you guys plan on going to any conventions this season. Fan Expo out here in Dallas, I believe, is in June. I unfortunately missed out on being able to get a press pass to Star Wars Celebration in California, which I'm a little bit bummed about. I really wanted to try and go out there, especially because I just found out Ewan McGregor was going to be there signing autographs, and he's an autograph that I do not have on my Star Wars mural. So I'm kind of bummed that I'm not going to be able to go. I do want to try and go out to Power Morphicon, though. We'll see if I can still try to attend. We got Enrique in the house. Thank you very much. Blossom certainly coming through as well. Good old L'Oreal in the house. Who else we got in here with us today? Sexy Mofo. I'm assuming that's AJ. If it comes with the Dino Knights Fight for Your Rights, yeah, it's got to be AJ to say the least. We got Edward Sanchez Productions in here. JB says, what? Joining us today. Good old Datilla. It's good to see you, Datilla. Video DVD in here. New Leaf. Yes, New Leaf was the name of this week's episode. Or as Blossom likes to title this, hashtag Ollie was a total dingus. Whatever title you guys certainly prefer, we can rock with that. We got Johnny in the house. Good to see you, Johnny. Good old Nanditha, also gracing us with her presence. Sarab in here as well. Good to see you, Sarab. Thank you very much, man. Adam Perea in the house. Thank you. Nanditha does say, Adam, you should see Austin's interview with Power Rangers Playback. He spilt a lot of tea. OMG. Oh, really? Okay, maybe I'll have to check it out. Power Rangers Playback. All right, with the controversial takes. We'll see. I haven't had the opportunity to check it out, Nanditha, so maybe that's another topic that I go ahead and add to next week's topics to certainly go ahead and talk about. If anything, shoot me a link, Nanditha, over on Twitter if you can. Hit me up on Twitter, my Twitter handle, and send me a DM with that link. I would definitely love to go ahead and check it out. Datilla says Power Morphicons in August and LA Comic Con. It looks like you're going to both of those. Very cool. Star Wars overrated, says Iba. Nah, man, I love me some Star Wars. Always been a big Star Wars fan. JB says, what? Says, I want to go to Power Morphicon. Make it happen, man. Let's make it happen. Good old August. Let's see how many of us can actually attend and do a little bit of a meet and greet and hang out. That'd be pretty cool. But we'll see. I got my tickets for Fan Expo Dallas out here in June. That's in August. Yeah, maybe I could take let me talk to the missus and see if she'll let me get away for like a weekend or something like that at Power Morphicon. I got to check real quick to see if they even have press passes available. I'm not even sure if they do. If not, I might just have to go ahead and pay for an actual ticket for myself if they even have any still available is the question. And I'll be interested to kind of see how things change when it comes to Power Morphicon. I guess for me, my question would be, what's the relationship between those that run Power Morphicon and Hasbro, and what will Hasbro allow them to get away with in regards to like the idea of bringing back old members? I don't think Hasbro has any intention on that. It's really the new stuff that I'm kind of curious. Like, is there any form of collaboration that Hasbro has with Power Morphicon? There's a part of me that think that it does, just because when we did have the online Power Morphicon, if you guys recall, they did premiere us a preview of a Dino Fury future episode, and I don't think they could do that without maybe Hasbro or Netflix providing it with them. So I am curious if there is contact with them. We've always had what do you call it, a tradition at Power Morphicon to reveal the brand new teams and stuff. With this coming in August, I am curious if Hasbro is open to that idea, or really how they look at Power Morphicon in that sense, right? Like, is that something worthwhile for us? Will that draw attention and eyes towards what we're trying to do, or do we want to hold those reveals for something on a much bigger and larger scale? You know what I mean? So for me, I will be really curious to see how hands-on Hasbro is with Power Morphicon, how much it's not hands-on, or if there is certainly a disconnect. I guess this will really be our first time getting the opportunity to see that, but I am very much looking forward to it. Datilla says, last time I checked, Power Morphicon press passes weren't available yet. And I feel like when it comes to Power Morphicon, they tend to be pretty slow with that type of stuff. The last time I tried to go to a Power Morphicon, it was literally like 2 weeks before the event that they finally got back to me and was like, oh yeah, you're available to go. And I'm just like, 2 weeks out? Like, how much is a damn ticket to California at this point in time? So, I'm pretty sure they probably don't have a big staff or anything like that. I don't know how many people actually run Power Morphicon or who's quite in charge of everything there. But there are times when it comes to Power Morphicon, I have felt like maybe not all their ducks are certainly in a row when it comes to at least the press passes type of thing. But if it's not available, say like come the middle of May, then we'll see. I might have to just revert to the whole purchasing tickets, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Sexy Mofo AJ says, I accidentally sent you, I resent you something you skipped last week's episode. If you have the time, go for it. Okay, I'll try and keep an eye out for it then, Sexy Mofo. All right, guys. Well, listen, grab your coffee, sit back, relax, and let's join the episode. Enjoy an episode of A Plus More Phenomenal today. That sweet, sweet coffee. That sweet, sweet life that is caffeine. Good old Harka in the house. Thank you very much, Harka, for certainly coming through. So let's go into this week, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode of A Plus More Phenomenal, knock out some of these topics. And you guys know how we always love to kick off our episodes with a fantastic Dino Fury review, as we're about to go ahead and get into episode number 7 of this second season. To be frank and to be quite honest with you guys, while there are certainly aspects of this episode that I appreciated and I enjoyed them tackling, this is probably maybe my least favorite episode of this season so far in regards to season 2. Not to say that it was absolute crap or anything, but as far as just like my excitement level, as far as really getting me out of my seat and really pushing the envelope, this just came in as a subpar, okay episode. Nothing that I feel like I'm writing home too much about. I feel like if there is anything in this episode that really jumped out to me, it's definitely the Void Queen and Void Knight situation we find ourselves in. We definitely have a situation here between Ollie and Amelia that we're definitely going to be talking about. And then, of course, some brand new Zord footage and new Zord formations that we wind up getting in this week's episode. So 3 aspects of this episode I definitely want to go ahead and talk about. But I definitely do have an issue with it too. But overall, okay. I watched this episode reluctantly twice. I will say that I feel like this is probably the first episode I've watched reluctantly. I didn't really care to go back, but just for my own notes purposes and to make sure that I watched the episode correctly and hopefully don't miss anything, I had to go ahead and certainly watch this episode again. It wasn't like that terrible, but it was just one of those things. Like, I just was not excited to dive back into this particular week's episode. But a couple of things that we certainly have to take away from this. Let's talk a little bit about the Void Knight and the Void Queen, because Void Queen has clearly made herself comfortable at home. I mean, this chick at this point is just kicking her feet up on the ottoman. She might even have Mucus bent over, kicking her feet up over there, if you will, pushing her heels on the back of Mucus while she's just reclining in the throne of Void Knight at this point. I mean, Void Queen really has made herself extremely comfortable to the point of really taking over what Void Knight officially or originally set in motion, if you will. The idea that she's literally taking sporks out of this particular machine, which I gotta say, quick side note, if you're using the power of the Sporex to go ahead and power yourself up and even energize and bring Santora back to life, shouldn't technically then the Sporex be absorbed of all of their power? But apparently not the case. It's the meter is still up here until we see her take the Sporex beast out, and then the power gauge winds up dropping, as she's really the one that winds up creating our monster here this week for us, a Halloween themed monster. And Void Knight's not quite too sure how to take this. There continues to be much more pushback between Void Knight and Void Queen in the sense of, girl, what don't you understand? I've saved your life. I just want to have a happy life with you. Let's get off of this wretched planet and just live our lives together. But when it comes to Santora, she definitely has other things in mind, truly wanting to go ahead and make the humans suffer and get revenge for what? That we certainly still don't know, but she definitely has a bone to pick with the Earthlings. And I might have a theory in regards to that here in a little bit, but I want to go ahead and continue with the Void Knight and Void Queen stuff, because the issue that I had with this episode, and the thing is that I love a great redemption story, right? One of the things that we've been talking about is I've kind of been predicting the path that we've seen so far between Santora along with Void Knight. The idea that, yeah, I think eventually they were going to clash. Santora was going to have a completely different mindset that maybe Void Knight wasn't okay with. But the idea in this episode that they go from a Void Knight that literally all season long didn't care about the suffering of humans whatsoever. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know the guy has his agenda and he was focused on trying to keep the Rangers out of what he was certainly trying to do the whole entire time, just to bring back the love of his life, right? It never really felt like he was purposefully going out and trying to harm the humans, right? It wasn't a case of we need to destroy Earth. And that was never really Void Knight's motive. But at the same time, I've never been under the impression that Void Knight cares or feels for these human beings. I guess I've always kind of under the impression Void Knight, not to say that he looked at them as collateral damage, but more or less the idea that he just didn't really care, as long as he can get his mission done. There've been plenty of humans we've seen harmed, running away in terror sort of thing, kidnapped maybe even by Void Knight in his plan, all on the purpose to get to his personal goal and make sure that the Power Rangers certainly don't get in his way. So while I get the idea that there's some pushback from Void Knight in here in the sense of, look, I just want to get out of here, girl. I'm not trying to fight these humans. Like, I get that idea, right? But when you start making Void Knight feel for these humans and having compassion for these humans, it just feels like a completely different character to me. Because if that was the case, I personally feel like we probably would have seen signs of that or have seen him act out in that manner in season 1 or something like that, right? Like if somebody's in danger or somebody, no, 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 don't, no, just the Rangers sort of thing. It's that level of compassion, I guess, the idea of feeling, seeing the father yelling or screaming and crying to his daughter who's trapped in tree bark and leaves, try and get his daughter back. That sentimental moment from Void Knight where he just sits there and looks, that just feels really out of character to me. Because I think you can still accomplish the same feat of having Void Knight not want anything to do with harming humans, and yet at the same time, all of a sudden make him sympathetic to the harm that the humans are going with. And it just felt like a very much night and day flip, like I felt like the redemption arc here, or that flip, um probably maybe could have even been stretched out maybe one more episode to really kind of fill in the details of this swap of a personality that we have when it comes to Void Knight. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the idea of, hey, we're telling a kid's story, so it's got to be very black and white. There's no gray area or overthinking sort of thing. You're either good one moment or you're either bad one moment, and then you're just 100% good on the next, right? That feels kind of maybe the route that they were kind of going. That just doesn't flow with me, because it doesn't feel like it's lived up to the Void Knight character kind of all season long. Again, I get the idea that I'm not here trying to hurt anybody in regards to the humans, but once you start getting into that sympathy and feeling, I think that that's something we probably should have seen in season 1 if that was the case. And I don't feel like that it certainly was. So a little bit odd. It really threw me off in regards to the characterization of Void Knight in here. I just didn't know how to feel about it. So when he does turn traitor and he does go to the Rangers and starts giving them insight and details, I thought it was cool and stuff, the pushback that the Rangers have. Why should we all of a sudden trust this guy? I love the idea that they're certainly questioning him, but it just all of a sudden felt like Void Knight just became somebody completely different to me, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And so again, while I'm a big fan usually of redemption arcs and stuff, and I still am really looking forward to this, I think this episode was just maybe a little bit mishandled in regards to Void Knight, in regards to his personality and stuff. But listen, because he was feeling that way even before Void Knight or Void Queen wind up destroying the ship, right? And it's really sort of that final straw of, here's the spaceship, hun, let's get out of here, and you destroy it. Now I see what your intentions are, right? Like clearly nothing that I do can convince you that whatever it is that what problem you have with the humans isn't good enough for us to certainly leave. The moment you destroy this ship, yeah, it's definitely time to get out of there. And so it makes sense to me that Void Knight winds up leaving. I do find it interesting that even somebody like Mucus was like, that ship's kind of small for all of us, don't you think? It does make me wonder, like, it seems now that Void Knight has turned his back on the team, now the rest of the team is turning their back on him, or at least certainly going to be questioning him kind of going forward, because it definitely seems like they realized what his motives were. The idea of maybe him and her just trying to escape, and of course with ship was it Wreckmates, I think, getting an opportunity to see him giving up the monster this week and trying to give the Power Rangers intel. It should be interesting to see where Void Knight goes, because it feels like he's very much on an island by himself now. How invested will he be to help the Power Rangers out? That I'm going to be interested in. I would be interested to see, does Void Knight even make it out of this season? Is this a case of, because just from some of the set photos that I've seen of Tarek, like not in his armor, in like just plain, human clothing with, clearly his Void Knight colors and things like that. It does make me wonder, is he doing some undercover work? Is Void Knight maybe a Void Queen at some particular point in time? Like, is she going to kill him? The only reason why I say that is just because in Real Soldier, Guy Sorg, aka Nada, aka Guy Sorg, does perish. I don't know if they're willing to go that dark on Dino Fury. But I wouldn't be surprised if something does happen to Tarek via Queen, for really wanting to, hey, you turned your back on me. I thought you loved me, sort of thing, right? Now she's the one with the animosity towards him. And just based off of the actions that she's had already, it doesn't seem super far-fetched. So I do wonder if Void Queen is the one that maybe puts Tarek down, and then in turn of trying to truly stop her at all costs, similar to Nada, maybe winds up giving Zato his powers in regards to the upcoming Max Real Soul or the Dino Night mode or whatever they call it. I have no idea what they're going to be calling it as of yet. So I am curious if that's how it winds up playing out. If Void Queen gets the upper hand of Tarek, and in a last attempt to help stop Queen, he does gives his powers to Zato. We'll see, man. We'll see how it turns out. But I am fascinated in regards to the Queen and Void Knight. But yeah, I did have a little bit of a hiccup and didn't feel really good about Void Knight in this particular episode. Another characters that we definitely have to talk about for sure. Good old Ollie and Amelia. Ollie was an asshole in this episode. Like when I saw this episode, I immediately knew what everybody was referencing. All like for the past 2-3 weeks, everybody's like, "Oh, wait till you see the Ollie episode. What a big jerk! How rude!" And yeah, he was a bit of an asshole in this episode for sure. We get the opportunity to see that Ollie learns that one of his old professors is certainly in town, thanks to a returning Dr. Akana. I can't get enough of her. But winds up finding out that not only is professor in town, but apparently Amelia has scored a fantastic interview with Professor Floyd, I believe is what his name is. And immediately, I mean, immediately upon Amelia getting involved in this conversation, just the way that Amelia immediately discredits Amelia like she's dumb, or like she doesn't know what she's talking about, the belittling in front of somebody that maybe he or she certainly looks up to, you know what I mean? Just a really terrible look, man. And I feel like Amelia has perfected the look of you're fucking rude, bro, without saying it for like all season long. And I think this was probably, I don't want to say the straw that broke the camel's back, but probably the most annoyed and hurt that I've probably have ever seen Amelia in regards to how Ollie has really kind of attacked her, or at least gone at her in this episode specifically. It feels like it's one of those things since the professor came in, all of a sudden his machismo and his bravado, Ollie's bravado and his arrogance and ego is just bloated because of the professors around. And so now he's just dishing out on poor Amelia, laughing at her bracelet. Let the scientists do the science sort of thing. Like I was watching the episode again yesterday, the second time I was watching it, and my girlfriend's sister, Alexis, and her boyfriend came over, and her boyfriend was in the backyard hanging out with the dogs. Me and Alexis were hanging out in the kitchen, and I had Power Rangers on, right? And that scene comes up with Amelia along with Ollie in the command center. Now, mind you, Alexis doesn't watch Power Rangers like that. This is her first time just seeing what the new iteration of Power Rangers was like. So when we see, all the chemistry happening, all the science happening, and Ollie's looking in the telescopes and the microscopes and stuff, and Amelia comes in and offers to help, and Ollie hits her with that line, Alexis is like, ew, what an asshole. I could not stop laughing. Like just somebody on the outside looking in that brief scene just immediately was able to tell just how rude Ollie certainly was. But listen, props to the professor for calling him out, really putting him on the spot and have him sort of question himself all episode long. It's I appreciate the professor holding him certainly accountable for his actions. The idea that Ollie really grew up most of his life thinking like him and the professor were just that close. They worked on projects together, when in reality, in hindsight, the idea is that Ollie's attitude was just too much for people, too much of a know-it-all, a smarty pants, if you will, and nobody really wanted to work with him because of his attitude, and it sort of forced the professor to have to work with Ollie. And so the realization of that for Ollie has got to be a shot to your ego. And I think when he recognizes that he is hurting Amelia's feelings, shout out to Kai Moya for what I thought was a really great performance of what seemed to be sincere regrets and sincere apology. and an understanding of seeing Amelia's expressions and her frustrations with him, and that sort of kickstarting the whole idea of like, damn, this is kind of what the professor was talking about, wasn't he? I really need to change and shape up my game, sort of thing. I appreciate Ali. I don't want to say reluctantly, but trying to on the spot change his ways and seeing the idea of how the outcome, when he does ask for help and doesn't think that he knows it all, the outcome can turn out pretty well for you. You know what I mean? Sometimes, you aren't the smartest person in the room. Sometimes you have to recognize that and know that. And when you have people around you that certainly want to help, have them certainly help you out. I think people have to certainly recognize that there are definitely smarter people out there than us. Like, even when it comes to trying to put together a team for A plus opinions, I certainly don't think that I know everything. So I try and find other people that I think are expertise and have expertise in other areas that I may not certainly know. So when you combine the forces of all of our knowledge, we can kind of dive in a little bit into everything, if you know what I mean. So I think that's something that Ollie certainly has to learn, something that he clearly learned in this episode, to the unfortunate feelings of Amelia, and some of his own feelings for having the professor really put him on blast and make him recognize the faults in his ways, sort of thing. So, but it was brutal, man. This episode was brutal for Ollie. But if anything, listen, this continues to build towards what I've been saying for quite some time now. Amelia and Ollie, hopefully shipping. It is one of those things, being in a relationship. It is one of those things where they apologized. He apologized for several different things, which I was really thankful for. That's kind of happened throughout the season, not for just that moment. I really love the embrace that those two had, and the fact that now Amelia has somehow convinced Ollie to now go on like supernatural adventures and trips with him and stuff. It is sort of the idea of combining our science and our supernatural knowledge. And even though Ollie may not necessarily agree with it, he understands he's got to be a little bit more open minded in the fact that, hey, you may, as a scientist, even discover some things you didn't even know, right? Like, you have to be open minded about those things. And the fact that she's going to get him a pink, like, ghost catcher also, I mean, come on, guys. How can we not have a relationship between these two? How do we not see this at this point? This was probably the most blatant, I think, episode that we've had in regards to showcasing it. If people doubted that it was happening, or that it might be coming, I think this is the episode to show there is certainly something there, whether it be the really great long embraces. I mean, we've been seeing each other, seeing both these characters kind of lightly tap or hit or play with each other, sort of thing, all season long. The little smirks, the little blushing, the little side, glances, sort of thing that Amelia and Ollie are giving each other. Opposites do attract. And while they don't necessarily always get along, when they eventually do, that's the type of stuff that really brings people together. So I thought they handled it pretty well. I was really unfortunate for Amelia to have to take the beating that she did in regards to just, Ollie's insults and stuff. And she was truly deserving of an apology that she wind up getting. And I'm glad that Ollie really made a sincere one. And shout out again to Kai Moya and Hunter for just really working those episodes. I wouldn't necessarily say I was the biggest fan of all the dialogue, but I thought the performance-wise of delivering the lines actually worked out really well. I felt almost like Kai's eyes were kind of watering, like he was on the verge of crying. He felt kind of so bad. I just thought it was a really convincing apology. So yeah, man, pink and blue all day. I definitely do think that this is certainly happening, and we'll see what happens there. Last but not least, the Zords. While I didn't really care too much for the Ranger action in this particular episode, it's really the Zords that took it for me in here, as we wind up getting to see new great formations in here. I probably got these names wrong. The Terra T-Rex Zord, where we literally had the T-Rex with wings. I can't remember if that was original footage or if they had shown that in Real Soldier or not, but a lot of the action, I feel like, of them taking down the monster here this week certainly was a great mixture of mostly original footage mixed in with very little Super Sentai footage. It certainly felt like. Even the Smash Terra Zord formation, I think it's like it's got the T-Rex champion Zord mixed in with the Terra Zord, because you got the big T-Rex chest coming out of its or face coming out of its chest. Homeboy's got the wings, but then he's also got the Smash Pacquiao like gloves on. That was pretty fantastic to kind of see them fighting up in the clouds. That, I believe, was real soldier footage. But then when they're fighting going through the clouds, that felt very much like original footage. Again, using the idea of taking this Zord into open space, different realms, right, where you can record him fighting kind of floating in the air sort of thing with just a special effects background. I thought they used it to perfection here in this particular episode. So even the idea of seeing Zato fly around in his armor, his Terra armor, all of that really looked well. So the graphics look great, and look great when it comes to the original Zord footage that we wind up getting. So definitely the Zord fights, I think, if anything, really won me over in here. And then, of course, we did have the Jane and Jay Borg situation. Didn't care too much for this storyline in this week's episode for them. You know me, I'm really not the biggest fan of the over-the-top sort of physical comedy, if you will. I believe Jane and Jay Borg were trying to hunt down a missing octopus that was running away from them, or they were trying to hunt down at the local pool, and they had like a live camera on the pool in case anything wind up coming out. I think they put bait out and stuff like that too while they chilled out in the hot tub. The physical comedy, I didn't really care for so much. Storyline, I didn't really care for it so much either. That's that area of the episode just certainly wasn't for me. But it definitely was that moment of Void Knight seeing the poor girl and the father pleading for her to be okay, and all of a sudden that sentimental side of Void Knight, like, oh, I don't want her to be hurt. Get out of here, bro. Like that's never been your mentality all season long. Like, let's not change now all of a sudden. So it was just again, I do think you can do a great redemption story without making him all of a sudden a wuss and being sympathetic to everybody. But I get it. It's very much black and white when it comes to children's shows. So you're either all good or all bad. I feel like sometimes it's really hard for them to track that gray area. And I think it probably would have been worked a little bit better had it been more of a gray area sort of situation. But listen, I at least appreciate him finally confronting the Rangers, teasing them that, hey, I didn't do this monster this week. That was Void Queen. The Rangers clearly have some answers, and I'll be interested to see what their response is going to be once they actually start seeing all the pieces connecting. Will there be some regrets in regards to maybe not helping Void Knight out sooner? Right? Like, if you look at it, the Power Rangers kind of helped this get to the point that they were certainly at, destroying, the plan that Void Knight had at the end of season 1, the last minute switch up of his plan, really pushing him to this particular point in season 2. Had things certainly changed, I would be interested to see how the Rangers will in fact respond to everything that they're going to find out. But again, guys, these are just simply my A+ opinions. At the end of the day, though, I want to know yours. What did you guys think of season 2, episode number 7, New Leaf? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs, and we will get into discussion time with you guys about this episode to see what you are all certainly saying. Again, I necessarily wasn't the biggest fan of this episode. Didn't really do too much for me. Probably my least favorite of the season. But again, not to say that there certainly weren't some interesting things to definitely go ahead and pull from this episode. I just think it was the Void Knight stuff, the really negative stuff surrounding Ollie, even though we do get a great lesson from him and he certainly learns it. I absolutely loved it. It was just a lot of negative things with the Ollie, and then it's just a lackluster stuff that I kind of wish was maybe a little bit different. That just kind of took me out the episode a little bit. Sonny, what's up, Sonny? He says, I really hope Ollie takes a hard turn. He has a lot of ground to cover for me to accept that he's getting better. He's just been such a jerk, and I hope that they don't think this one episode will redeem him. I guess for some people, while I definitely have seen his jerkish tendency in his ways in the past, I feel like this for me is probably blatantly this episode that was just super cringy to me. I think we've definitely have called Ali out in regards to some of the asshole remarks that he certainly has said. But for me, I found it relatively sincere. I guess it will be interesting to see as the season progresses. Is Ali going to revert back to his old ways, or storyline wise, will the writers be smart enough to say, hey, this is a life lessons he's learned already? Maybe the way that he, talks to Amelia or dresses things, maybe he's more joking about things in the future and not so sort of know-it-all-ish. You know what I mean? So you're right. There is in a sense of how does this character develop as the season progresses? Will he fall back onto his old ways? We'll definitely have to see. Enrique says the Smash Battle armor form Red Ranger is amazing. Can't wait to see the Dino Knight armor review on next Saturday. I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to see what it's looking like. Blossom said your girlfriend sister was right. Hashtag Ali's an asshole. Yeah, he was very much an asshole in this week's episode. So Rob says, do you think that her entry was contrived, though? I mean, she arrives in the episode just to inform Ali that this professor is coming. Don't you think her entry was contrived, though? I mean, she arrives in the episode just to. Are we talking about Dr. Arcana? I don't know if I would say contrived. I mean, if you're looking for, let me see, just to make sure. Contrived, deliberately created rather than arising naturally. I mean, there are some things in television that unfortunately are maybe too convenient. In this case, Dr. Arcana popping up in here, no, because I feel like they already established the idea that her and Ali do contact each other in the very first episode. We found out she was in Japan. And since this episode was in fact surrounding Ali, I think the idea of her informing Ali feels natural. Like, had we not seen Dr. Arcana all season, then maybe. But I feel like I've seen worse things that were conveniently placed in the story in order to help it move forward than that particular moment. So I'm not saying I would say contrived, because I feel like they've already set it up in the past episodes. Datilla, a big fan of Ali and Amelia. Yeah, I really do like them together. I really do. JB says, what I agree with you. Wasn't a fan of that episode or episode 8. Just watched it this morning. Yeah, I haven't had the chance to watch episode 8. Netflix almost forced me to. It almost was like, next episode, let's go. And I'm like, no. It's late. I gotta go to bed, man. I gotta go to bed. So yeah, I definitely will be checking out episode 8 this week. Blossom says, hashtag never diss Amelia. Yeah, man. She might might let you forget it. Sexy Mofo says, Ali and Amelia, baby, couple time. Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna happen. Gabriel says Adam just spoiled himself for the next couple of episodes. I mean, I don't want to say I spoiled myself. I mean, maybe I'm just predicting. Like I'm just trying in my head, trying to figure out how this is all gonna go based off of some of the Real Soldier footage that I do remember from the series itself, and just the trajectory in which the storyline is going. These are just storylines and concepts that I personally would like to see, and solid directions that I think the show could certainly go. Whether or not they go in that direction, who certainly knows. But maybe if I am spoiling myself, I guess I'm calling out this season, man. I guess I'm predicting a lot of stuff that's happening in the season. So that works for me. Let me see. But I still get surprised, trust me. Like, I still get hyped. I definitely do. Blossom says the battle was epic. Yeah, I definitely agree with you for sure. I definitely agree. Let me see. Gabriel says, Void Knight not wanting to hurt the little girl really did remind me of Astronomer and PR in space. It's not black or white for me. Sorry, Anna, but I disagree with you and your thoughts. And that's certainly more than fine, Gabriel. I definitely understand that, man. I guess it's just one of those things where I wish I had seen more of that side of Void Knight before this immediate sort of turn, you know? because I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it in season one. And so it just feels like he's become all of a sudden overly sympathetic. Again, people certainly don't have to agree with me, and I appreciate your opinion and your thoughts, Gabriel. So thank you very much, man. Blossom says Amelia's magnet bracelet totally came in handy. Am I right? She and Ollie do work well together. They definitely do, as long as he's open-minded enough to certainly let her, right? Like she's not the idiot that freaking Ollie tries to portray her to be, just because of the fact that she believes in, some stuff that's difficult to kind of prove. You know what I mean? And so the idea of being open-minded enough is something that Ollie clearly needs to certainly work on. But I do like seeing them when they do work together, especially when as Rangers. Like I feel like as Rangers, we've definitely have seen Ollie and Amelia work together side by side, and they do fantastic work together. They really do. Video DVD. He says this episode was outstanding in terms of VFX. The tree fixation process, the Rangers and the Void Knight watching the monster fall, a great blend of original and Sentai footage. The Rangers fist finishers. Oh, that's true. When they were in the Zords, that's right. They had the ice and the fire fist finisher, and that's one of the things that we did talk about in our notes very briefly, at least when we talked about the Zords. That this episode, when it comes to the special effects, certainly was great. It definitely was very appealing to the eye for sure. I did like that scene when their characters were sort of under the bridge, and you can kind of tell it was two shots blended together of the Rangers under the bridge looking out into the bay, and seeing the gigantic monster kind of fall in to the water and then all of a sudden start floating up into the sky. They really did push the envelope. So I certainly agree with you, Video DVD. Thank you very much. Sexy says, this is random, but I still find it ironic that Tessa plays Izzy on this show. And Kai does have a girlfriend in real life named Izzy. I guess I'm trying to figure out, how's that ironic? Like it'd be different if like Tessa plays Izzy on the show, like if it was Hunter that played Izzy, and Kai having a girlfriend in real life's name was Hunter, then maybe that'd be a little bit, or Amelia, then maybe that might be a little bit weird to me. But since Tessa and Kai aren't Amelia and Ollie, it doesn't really work for me. But I get what you're kind of saying. But yeah. Gabriel says, sorry for being a broken record, but I saw the Astronomer episode last night when she protected two siblings from getting attacked. She too never showed remorse till the episode like Void Knight, yet no one ever complained about her. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely complaining about Void Knight. It's been years since I've seen that episode, Gabriel. But if anything, I feel like maybe the storytelling in, I don't know. It's been forever since I've seen In Space, but I felt like the storytelling, worked out significantly different than what it is in Void Knight. Like I don't see those two as the same people, right? Like Astronomer herself has gone down a completely different path as a character, somebody that's been kidnapped, right? Brainwashed, brought into a fold, taken away from your brothers. So there was sort of like levels of humanity that we've seen before from her that was kind of expressed also. I just think the storytelling purposes of In Space, to where if they are going to do that turn for Astronomer, maybe that certainly works differently. That story was also told, 20 years ago. So I do think, times not only have certainly changed since that particular moment, but so has storytelling over the years. So I'm not saying if I would put them directly in the same bucket, just because of the fact that Astronomer has a completely different storyline than Void Knight himself. I get what you're saying, though. I definitely get what you're saying, Gabriel, and you're certainly welcome to your opinion. Definitely not pushing back against that whatsoever. I just think that they might actually be two different things. But I've never really complained about Astronomer or that particular moment. But again, I haven't seen that moment in years. Maybe if I were to go back and watch In Space again, maybe I will feel certainly some type of way. So, Gabriel, even though you haven't seen anybody that's complained about her, again, I've only complained about Void Knight in the sense of this moment. It's not like I've complained about her all season saying I absolutely hate this direction that they've taken Void Knight in. It's just this particular episode has just felt significantly different as a Void Knight character to anything that I've seen him do in season 1 or season 2. But that's just me. And if you think I'm wrong, you're certainly welcome to certainly think that. But that's just how I viewed the episode and how I viewed that particular moment. It just didn't work for me. And that's okay. Just like the astronomer stuff worked for you. Let's see here. All right, guys. I think that's all the comments that we're getting for this particular week's episode. So thank you guys for certainly your thoughts on Dino Fury Season 2, Episode number 7, titled New Leaf. Again, certainly let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. I will say this in regards to Void Queen. One of the theories that I'm having, if going back to the whole Amelia are their parents, I can't remember if somebody mentioned this in the live chat at some point in time, or if this was something I was just thinking about as of yesterday, trying to figure out what it is that she certainly wants to get revenge for the humans for. I can't remember if somebody mentioned this or this just popped in my head, just the idea of I do wonder if what she's upset about, like, I do wonder if did they have a kid? Did they have Amelia as a kid? And did the kid get separated from them? Did the humans take Amelia from her? And I wonder if she's feeling some type of way. Like, I wonder if Santora believes that her child is still alive, whereas Void Knight has kind of accepted the loss and the grief and just wants to bring back somebody that he does love in Santora and just get out of here, sort of thing. Whereas maybe Void Knight, the revenge she wants to get, maybe it's the idea of they took my daughter, they took my kid, and so I want to get revenge on the humans in order to kind of get her back. That's kind of where I'm wondering. I'm wondering and just speculating if that's the revenge that she's certainly referring to. Again, that's just to jump on board the idea of people mentioning the idea that Amelia might be their parents. I think there are certainly, I think, some connective pieces people can certainly make to that. Datilla, I think, yeah, Datilla. I was like, I thought I might have seen that. Datilla says I said that in the chat. I think you might be on to something if that's the case. That's kind of where I'm leaning at as of right now after watching the episode again for the second time. I think you might be right in regards to maybe they took Amelia from her, and that's the revenge that she certainly wants to see. Blossom says, I like how Amelia believes in the supernatural. I don't believe in half the stuff she does, but I'm open-minded. I would like to use stuff like that in my stories. See, I bet Elliot and Ollie would sort of have a bit of a fight. Elliot and his teammates are 10 years old, so Ollie wouldn't understand that imagination being their ranger powers. Yeah, I mean, like if anything, when it comes to adults, we don't have necessarily the what was it in the adults, right, in Tokyo, I believe, were the ones that didn't have quite the active imagination, so that's why all the kids certainly saw everything. Nicole says, may I say the body switch episode with the Rangers, more of Zato and Amelia, is my second best since Ashley and Astronomer. I love when Astronomer fell on the ground after being on her glider. Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was a good one, Nicole. But yeah, the body swap episodes do tend to be pretty fun for me, honestly. I really like seeing the other Rangers try and act like their peers. It's always pretty fun for me. All right, guys. Other than that, we will go ahead and transition over to our next topic, guys. So thank you very much for certainly joining us once again. Also, just a quick update for you guys. This past week, and I should have did this at the top of the episode, and I'm so sorry that I didn't, man. This week, I got the opportunity to sit down and discuss Power Rangers even further this week, this past Thursday. Sat down, did a little bit of an interview, a little bit of a collaborative effort, if you will, with a gentleman by the name of Matt Aguilar. For those of you who don't know who Matt Aguilar is, maybe the name sounds familiar. He currently works over at comicbook.com. Matt is usually the lead of all the Power Ranger content that usually drops over on comicbook.com. You've probably seen him write some of the articles in regards to some of the exclusive reveals that Hasbro and Power Rangers winds up dropping for us from time to time. He's done some interviews in the past as well. You might have seen some of his videos on comicbook.com. Well, he apparently, you can find him on Twitter at Night of OA. But he apparently has his own YouTube channel as well called Night of OA. But he's got a Power Ranger show called the Putty Hour. I believe he does it every 2 weeks on his channel, on his show. He does it every 2 weeks. It's himself, his co-host Nick Valdez, who I got the opportunity to meet also, and then usually a guest host. I think they've had Toku Chris on there. I believe they've had Eric from, was it Ranger Command, if I'm not mistaken. They've also had, I've seen Joe Deckelmeyer from the Illuminati on there. And Matt was nice enough to certainly reach out to me and ask if I wanted to collaborate and sit down with him and Nick and talk Power Rangers for a good little hour. And so we did this past Thursday. He wound up recording it. I believe it was live over on Twitch. And then he did go ahead and post it over on his YouTube page. So if you guys want to go ahead and check out the collaborative effort that we wind up putting together for his show, The Putty Hour, there is a link in the description box below. You guys can certainly go ahead and check it out. We discussed the Fan First Tuesday again. We discussed the 30th anniversary a little bit with the return of David Yost. And we dove a little bit also in regards to Dino Fury and a ton of other topics, guys. So a really fun time. I've always seen Matt from afar. I've seen him on Twitter from time to time posting things in regards to Power Ranger fandom. So it was really fantastic time to go ahead and sit down with him. So shout out to Matt. Shout out to Nick. Thank you very much, guys, for certainly having me on your show. Hopefully we get the opportunity to do it again in the future. And it was a lot of fun, man. I love talking Power Rangers with those guys. So yeah, show some support. Check out the video if you get the opportunity to. Again, there is a link in the description box below. And also, guys, if you want to go ahead and join us over on our Discourse forum community, there is a link in the description box below for that as well. If you would like to go ahead and communicate with us outside of our YouTube page and other forms of social media. The Discord forum has a plethora of different topics, not just Power Rangers, that we can all certainly talk about throughout the week. So if you haven't subscribed to us or followed us over on Discord, please go ahead and do yourselves a favor. And yeah, so thank you once again, Matt, for that opportunity. But let me see what you guys are saying. Blossom says that guy you mentioned sounds pretty cool. Yeah, over on Twitter, we did retweet the video out and things like that to people. So there is a link over on Twitter if you want to check it out. Matt's a pretty cool guy, super knowledgeable, loves the comic books, loves Power Rangers as a franchise. We had a really great interview and talk yesterday. Datilla even joined in. She says, I watched the stream with Night of OA. Thank you very much, Datilla, for certainly joining us. He says, I know who he is. He follows me on Twitter and came onto my Impact stream once. Yeah, he's a big wrestling fan as well. We talked a little bit about the Intercontinental title. I think we made a little bit of a mention about it the other day. So, yeah, man, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we will dive into our next topic. And this is in the world of tokusatsu, ladies and gentlemen, as big things are certainly coming when it happens to be good old Ultraman, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Ultraman is back. Not just Ultraman, but Shin Ultraman, the upcoming movie. Last week, we wind up dropping a little bit of a teaser trailer for you guys to kind of get a glimpse. Well, listen. Literally after we wind up going live with our show, that same weekend, Shin Ultraman gave us, I don't know if I want to call this an official trailer, but definitely gave us like a minute and 20, a minute and 40 kind of second long episode trailer, if you will, with brand new footage, brand new musical score and everything. And it looks bananas. I honestly cannot wait to see what Shin Ultraman is certainly going to look like. This is just some of the promotional artwork that's been accompanied with it as well. But let's go ahead and dive into this. And again, I just want to make a quick disclaimer for copyright issues. The footage that you're about to see does, in fact, belong to Subaraya Productions. I'm not going to play the audio, probably, if anything, just the visuals for you guys. But I would go ahead and recommend you guys certainly check out the trailer for yourself and certainly support Shin Ultraman. So the footage you're about to see, again, all the rights certainly do belong to Subaraya Productions. So please don't hit me with any copyrights. I'm just trying to simply promote your fantastic property that you certainly have here. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. This is from we'll get into the Tokusatsu network page. Because yeah, we did get ourselves, I think, a teaser trailer last week, but this time Tokusatsu Network saying new trailers for Shin Ultraman have officially been unveiled. On April 15th, a new teaser trailer for the upcoming Shin Ultraman was released online. And it says the same day, though, another 82-second long trailer playing in theaters across Japan. It soon came to YouTube on the 18th. So this new trailer literally just dropped this past Monday, so a day or two after we watched it. It says a special preview video is also being shown at the Hidaiki Anno exhibition. In addition to all the footage and new plot synopsis for the film has also been revealed. So let's go ahead and hold on. I want to play this. So this is the brand new poster that we're getting here, or not the brand new poster, but this is the brand new trailer that we're getting here. I do love the fact they have some really great supporting characters. I will say that usually, at least when it comes to the Shin Godzilla series, they definitely did. But I love seeing these businessmen and women like getting down to business, pulling out these guns and stuff. So you definitely get to see the humanistic aspect of this episode, of this particular movie, and that is, in fact, it looks like the arrival of good old Ultraman himself, as we get to see him rising from the destruction he just kind of caused. There's some really great visuals in here, and this is kind of where the that smaller teaser trailer that we showed earlier this week kind of jumps in here, and then it ends with more original footage. I believe this is where it begins. This night shot, though, of seeing him cross through the sky, I freaking love this shot here. I love that shot. And there's another shot here of him standing above a destructed city. This shot right here kind of also reminds me a little bit of a Shin Godzilla sequence that we've had before. But you can definitely see just the alien ways, the alien shape and form of the Ultraman body. But visually, it looks stunning when it comes to the special effects against some of the monsters. That's another great shot too. Ooh, can I go back? I want to go back to that shot. This is like a Superman shot right here, flying into the screen and then out into the distance. And he activates it and bursts through the freaking roof. Oh my God. I'm so pumped for this movie, man. I'm so pumped for this movie. I cannot tell you my levels of excitement. And again, I think just because of the fact that I jumped on board with Shin Godzilla, so I get the premise of the idea of trying to take these characters that were established back in the 60s and even earlier and modernizing them for a more current generation and showcasing the idea of like when shit hits the fan, how do us in our modern time period with the way that we have things these days, how do we respond to attacks or alien invasions, yada yada yada, that type of stuff. And I really love the world that these are all really set in. It says the continued appearance of giant unidentified life forms known as S-class species have become commonplace in Japan. It says conventional weapons have no effect on them. Having exhausted all other options, the Japanese government issued the S-class species suppression protocol and formed an enforcement unit known as SSSP. The members chosen for the unit, and they go through a bunch of names, yada yada yada. As the threat of the S-class species worsens, a silver giant appears from beyond Earth's atmosphere. So it seems as though creatures are starting to make their presence and their self certainly known, and all of a sudden it feels as though this silver giant appears from the Earth's atmosphere as that threat worsens. In a sense, I'm assuming, if anything, to go ahead and save the world. It says analyst Hiroko Asami is newly appointed to the SSSP to deal with this giant and is partnered with Shinji Kaminaga. She writes Ultraman, tentative name, identity unknown. So again, this movie is slated to release nationwide in Japanese theaters on May 13th. No idea how quickly this is going to be dubbed over into English for me to go ahead and check out for myself. But I can tell you, I'm pumped for this. I really cannot wait to see what this movie is going to be. Everything that I've seen so far visually, especially the more and more I see of it, I'm a big fan. I think when they first teased us of it, I was a little bit thrown off with this the shape of the Ultraman figure design. But the more and more I see it, it definitely is tapping into sort of that alien aspect, if you will. It might work for me. It certainly might work for me. But again, the more that I see of it, I continue to become a pretty big fan. But guys, I want to know your levels of anticipation for this. Shin Ultraman right around the corner. Have you checked out Shin Godzilla since I mentioned it? If not, are you at least looking forward to this particular movie, or are you at least getting more intrigued the more and more that we certainly talk about it? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we will continue along with our Ultraman talk here, because this past week, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, Ultraman season 2 wind up premiering on Netflix. Season 1 is already on Netflix. I believe it's like 12 or 13 episodes for season 1. Season 2 is just 6 episodes this time around. But it seems as though the storyline for the Ultraman Netflix series is coming to an end, ladies and gentlemen, as it's we wind up getting ourselves an announcement here from Netflix. They were ready to go after a couple of weeks of Ultraman season 2 being up on Netflix. They were ready for this announcement. The final season is coming, and they've titled it Ultraman Final. The finale coming in 2023, as we wind up getting ourselves a brand new poster here to go ahead and highlight the idea of the third season. Farewell, Ultraman. I will say this, for me, one, I love the trailer. I mean, I love the poster. If anything, I don't know why I feel like there are vibes that I get from this as very Death of Superman-y. Death of Superman sort of idea, that the bloodied shield of Superman, the S, right, showcasing his demise and his doom. It's kind of like the same vibe I get here of seeing Ultraman just beaten to a pulp, his life light kind of flickering on red, right, really at the end of his run here, sort of thing. Could this be the death of Ultraman? We'll definitely see how it turns out. But Netflix was ready. Netflix was ready to go ahead and throw this out. So let's go ahead and dive into this, because it seems as though we do have ourselves a little bit of a trailer that was released. It says Ultraman Season 3 trailer, the finale, reveals a final installment in the Netflix series. It says the second season of Netflix's Ultraman anime premiered earlier this month, and their third and final season has now been confirmed to release next year. The news comes courtesy of a brief teaser announcement for the third season. In it, a voice can be heard calling to an injured Ultraman to get up before it's revealed that the next season of the series will be its last and will premiere worldwide in 2023. Here's the little teaser that we wind up getting from Netflix in regards to the final season. It's really not a lot of photos. It's just literally one still image here. But you definitely get to feel the urgency here. But yeah, Ultraman, the final season's certainly headed this way. A couple things here. I'm not mad at this at all for only lasting 3 seasons. To me, it is one of those things where it doesn't feel like it was canceled. You know what I mean? This feels like this is the story that they certainly had planned on telling us from the very beginning. And because of that, I'm not necessarily even worried. I'm actually really, really looking forward to it. Um, Yeah, it does say that the first season of Ultraman is comprised of 13 episodes and is available on stream on Netflix. The second season debuted April 14th, and it has just 6 episodes, all of which available will be streaming. It says a feature film is also in production at the streamer also. So I do wonder if it says if a feature film is also in production at the streamer. It does make me wonder. I'm assuming that's going to be the Ultraman from this particular series feature film, I would assume. So maybe there's more to come even after this, or maybe it's a completely different Ultraman in the feature film that we get. We'll definitely have to get some more details and certainly let you know when that happens. But I'm always a big fan when people get the opportunity to finish off the stories that they wanted to tell. The authors behind the Ultraman manga, Ichi Shimizu and Tomohiro Shimoguchi, they commented recently on the announcement as well of the final season. And they said, thinking back, we've had a long run with anime Ultraman, and now it's already the final season. Season 2 introduced the original story and elements, but its story structure and the heart are shared with the original. This is true of the final season as well. How will this second Ultraman story come to a close? We're also excited to see how it turns out. And so for me, it is one of those things too where season 2 took forever to actually come on Netflix. I think it was like a good 2.5 year wait for us to certainly get it. And I think when you look at the special effects and the CGI, animation does take quite some time to certainly go ahead and develop. But the fact that we waited 2 years, I think really works out that now we're very much getting these 2 seasons sort of back to back. Granted, these are only 6 episodes, but the fact that we just got season 2 this year and now we don't have to wait another 2.5 years for the finale really works out for me. So it feels like they definitely took that time, especially during the pandemic, especially after season 1, to go ahead and just complete as much of the story as they possibly could and certainly have it ready to certainly go so people can digest it rather quickly instead of certainly waiting around for it. So this definitely feels very much like the idea of we have a complete story that we want to tell. We're getting that opportunity to tell it. And if that means this third season wraps it up, then I'm more than happy to see how this certainly comes together. But I'm really pumped for this, man. I'm really pumped for this. But yeah, guys, go ahead and certainly let me know your thoughts. Have you checked out season 2? Have you checked out season 1? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts about this season so far in the live chat or the comment section box below. What's up, Daniel? Good to see you in here, Daniel. He says, I need a Shin Godzilla versus Shin Ultraman movie. Listen, it wouldn't feel too far away for me. Considering the Shin universe that they're seemingly creating over there. They've got Shin Godzilla they've worked on. They're about to release Shin Ultraman this summer. Next summer is going to be Shin Kamen Rider, which I believe has completed its filming. I believe it's just in post-production at this point in time. So we're going to have 3 big franchises all within a Shin universe. Does that mean that eventually they're all going to cross over and have one big epic movie? Who certainly knows? But a Shin Godzilla versus Ultraman, I'm right there with you, Daniel. Sign me up, man. Sign me up. Blossom says the Ultraman final, the poster looks scary. Yeah, it's it definitely exudes some type of mood. You know what I mean? Farewell, Ultraman. It definitely has a different mood and vibe about it that I really love. I really love. Like it definitely feels like that finality. Ram Jam says, I'm on the 4th episode of Netflix Ultraman. How are you enjoying it so far? I have decided, actually have started rewatching it. I just started yesterday or the night before. So I'm back on season 1, episode number 2. So I do plan on just going ahead and binging both seasons back to back once again. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. But I would definitely want to know your thoughts, Ram Jam. For one, I would like to get your point of view. Is this your first Ultraman series you've tackled? And if it is, as a newcomer, how are you enjoying Ultraman? Because I think your opinion certainly would be valuable in the sense of other people that might be in the live chat that haven't had the opportunity to check it out, or maybe on the fence, or whether or not they should give it a shot. Anybody's thoughts on Ultraman, especially this particular series, would certainly love to know your thoughts in the live chat. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we got one more topic for you guys, and that's going to be in the realm of good old Ultraman Decker, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, the next installment of Ultraman. I told you this is an Ultraman show, man. A Shin Ultraman, Ultraman Netflix series, and how a brand new Ultraman series itself in regards to Ultraman Decker. That's certainly going to be here because casting is officially here. We're starting to get character details as we inch closer to, I believe, the series debuts in July, so about maybe 2 months away. So, as we continue along here with A Plus More Phenomenal for the next few weeks, I think we got like 4 weeks left of A Plus More Phenomenal. If anything, we probably will be doing review. I don't want to say reviews, but we probably will be giving you guys previews in regards to a lot of the characters and some of the storyline details. Maybe we get ourselves some trailers here within the next month or so to really go ahead and get you guys hyped. Even though we are not going to be reviewing Ultraman Decker here, if this is definitely going to be a series that I'm certainly going to be enjoying to watch. Maybe I'll use Twitter or Twitter Spaces as a great way to go ahead and maybe give my thoughts and reviews on Ultraman Decker sort of throughout the week, something that's easy for me to be able to put my thoughts together and not take away too much time from my weekends and time with my family and things like that. So we'll see. Like my tokusatsu stuff, even though I don't feel like I'm going to be following it too much with the exception of Donbrothers, I definitely will continue to make my thoughts and things like that known about these particular series over on Twitter. So if you haven't followed us on Twitter, feel free to go ahead and certainly do so. But Ultraman Decker is almost here, and I don't believe we've had any other character announcements from this series. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll go back and certainly check it out. But we definitely have a brand new character to go ahead and certainly dive into here this week. So let's go see exactly who this main character is, shall we? So let's go ahead and dive into this and see what Ultraman Decker has in store for us. This is actually, let me post up this picture real quick. This is the full picture of the character herself. We'll probably revisit this picture here in just a second. But let's go over this. This is to Subaraya Productions' actual website, the official global website. New TV series Ultraman Decker heroine announced. Yuka Moriyama to play new Gut Select member Ichika Carino. So hello, Ichiko Carino. Love the gloves. I'm always a big fan of the Gut Select costumes. I really love the Gut Select uniform in Ultraman Trigger, but they're definitely going a completely different color scheme this time around. It looks like we certainly have the orange and black. That's really working. I love the way that it pops on here. You got the Gut Select logo also. She even got a little bit of a gun. Like, damn, that's like a RoboCop gun. She's just looking like a complete badass here. I will be interested to see what her what her position is in this series. So it says a new TV series, Ultraman Decker, will begin broadcasting in Japan beginning July 9th of this year, every Thursday at 5 p.m. I'm hoping they continue to do simulcasting here in the States. We will be introducing you to one of the main character members, starring alongside Kanata Asumi, the protagonist played by Hiroki Matsumoto. So here we have Yuka Moriyama has been cast as the show's heroine, Ichika Carino. Ichika Kirino, a member of the Anti-Sphere unit, a newly reformed Gut Select, because this does take place years after Ultraman Trigger. She made her film debut in middle school and has since risen in popularity, starring in dramas, commercials, and more. Here's a character detail. Ichika Carino, she's 20 years old, the ground assault operative of Gut Select. So ground assault. So she's the first one. She's on that group that's out there, very similar to how we had the rest of the team last time. We have it says bright and optimistic. She is hot-blooded, with a strong sense of duty and responsibility. Okay, so she's literally a badass. This chick really takes her job extremely seriously and is good at what she does. Maybe a little bit headstrong since she is kind of hot blooded. Anytime they think of hot bloodedness, for some reason, my mind goes back to, was it Kichiro from Pat Ranger, the red there, the police officer? Very much hot blooded. She hopes to bring peace back to Earth so that people can continue to follow their dreams without being intruded, and save her friends who are lost in the attack of Sphere. She tends to overthink things, leading the captain to call her a headstrong genius. I think I'm gonna like Ichika. I think I'm gonna like Ichika in here, and see how she maybe has some pushback to some of the orders that are given. A headstrong genius, someone that overthinks things, maybe gets in her own way sometimes, maybe a little bit too reckless because of her strong sense of duty and responsibility. Athletic, though small in stature, she can dodge and maneuver quickly. Seemingly she's got some moves. And she certainly has something to fight for here in regards to saving her friends who are lost in the attack of Sphere. So, yeah, ground assault operative of Gut Select. The actress playing Ichika here, this is Yuka Moriyama. She says, "Hello, everyone. I'm Yuka. I will be playing Ultraman Decker's heroine, Ichika Kurino. Ichika is headstrong, a passionate girl who can fearlessly stand up to anything. Although sometimes she can be an airhead, so she clearly has her blonde moments, she cares deeply for her friends. I think seeing her and the group find their way will bring smiles and encourage to you all. The wonderful team and I are pulling all our efforts for filming. There's not long to wait until the show starts. Look forward to it. If I never quit, I can. If I never quit, I can. I wonder what that means. That's an interesting phrase or quote to use. If I never quit, I can't. Okay, well, I guess it's the. I was like, so if she never quits, that means she can quit if she wants to. But I think it's a case of if I never quit, in the sense of if I never give up, I can do it, right? So you can accomplish it as long as you never quit. So I get it. I get it now. It makes sense to me. But yeah, man, that's Yuka Yuka Moriyama, who is going to be playing Ichika Kurino, good old 20-year-old from Guts Select. So yeah, man, I love the character description. She looks great, small in stature, but clearly a badass. So definitely don't miss with Ichika. But yeah, guys, what's your level of excitement when it comes to Ultraman Trigger? I'm sure we'll probably get a small little rollout, if you will, of information of Ultraman Decker going forward, and we'll definitely keep you in tune with all the characters that that wind up dropping. I am kind of curious. Did you guys check out Ultraman Trigger after we talked about it here on this show? I definitely dabbled in it. We definitely did our reviews also for Ultraman Trigger. But if you had the opportunity to check out Ultraman Trigger, what did you think of it? And are you hyped for Decker? Certainly as much as I am. I think they've done a great job so far. I was pumped with Trigger. I think maybe, I don't know if that was a case of because of the fact that I'm um, a newcomer to it. So I think maybe people that have been in the world of Ultraman, maybe I don't know if Trigger got mixed reviews or whatever the case may be. But for me as a newcomer, I really did enjoy it, with the exception of maybe being confused from time to time with some of the crossovers, just because Ultraman is such a long continuity over 55 years that just so much has happened. I don't know how easy it is for newcomers to be thrusted into it, but I think Ultraman was a really fun opportunity. And I think if there is any really great way to be thrusted into Ultraman for your first time after revisiting some of the Ultraman Netflix series, seeing that the Netflix series itself is technically a sequel, I think they do a pretty good job of keeping you like a recap of the overall thing that you needed to know about the first Ultraman series to even understand this Netflix Ultraman stuff, But it's a big continuity out there, and it can be rather intimidating. but I say take the dive if you're interested. So again, the Ultraman Netflix series I would recommend. Heck, I would even recommend the original Ultraman series for you guys too. But if you want something more digestible, definitely go the route of the Ultraman Netflix series, and even dabble in the Ultraman Trigger or the upcoming Decker if you're interested. Let's see here what some of you guys are definitely saying. Rams Jam says, I've been watching Ultraman for years. For someone who's new to the franchise, the Netflix series is a good start. So thank you very much for suggesting that also, Ram Jam. That, yeah, if you are interested in checking out Ultraman, definitely go ahead and dive in. So I appreciate your thoughts. I didn't know that you were such a huge Ultraman fan like that, but I'm glad you've been following it for a while. Frankie says Ultraman Decker, the movies and TV show. Yeah, we're definitely getting a TV show for sure. I can't remember if the movies have been announced already or if we talked about it. Maybe we have. We talk about so much stuff. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep up with everything that we have so far. Blossom says 4 weeks left. Holy moly, macaroni. I'll sure as heck miss this. Yeah, I'll miss it too, man. I'll miss it too. Trust me, there's a plethora of things out there that are pushing back against me, temptations that are pushing back against me to be like, Adam, don't do it. Don't take down A plus more phenomenal. But you know, all things unfortunately have to come to a bitter end sometimes, you know. And while I'm not looking forward to it, I am looking forward to transitioning that Power Ranger talk to Hero Report, and really refocusing myself a little bit more. You know what I mean? This environment, while I think we still can capture it at Hero Report, the idea of this being solely just a place for Power Rangers definitely has some power and weight to it. You know what I mean? But I've been doing this for such a long time. Part of me is kind of tired. New life situation also. You got to duck and dodge and change with the times a little bit too. You know, we've got some really great Power Ranger content creators out there already. Maybe not as good as me. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, we got some legends out there, man, that still create Power Ranger content for everybody to certainly enjoy. I guess for me, my biggest thing is I hope that I am able to not only carry some subscribers from A plus more phenomenal over to A plus Hero Report, but I also hope that I can make Power Rangers proud in the sense of still being able to give the fandom not only a voice but a place as well. And while Power Rangers like this show isn't going to overshadow everything else that we do on A plus Hero Report, I still want it to feel like it's a significant portion of what we create or have on Hero Report, so that fans know this place definitely does focus on Power Rangers, at least to a certain extent, when it comes to movies and television and things like that. So you definitely will still see its presence. It just unfortunately won't have as big of one as its own show every 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. You know what I mean? But you know, listen, I'm still gonna be on Twitter. I'm still gonna be on Instagram, on Facebook. We're still gonna be on YouTube to some capacity. You guys can certainly still get my thoughts and views on everything that we certainly still talk about around here. Common Rider 64 has joined us. What's up, man? Thank you very much. Enrique says, so who's playing the role of Shin Ultraman? Shin Ultraman actor. Let's go ahead and pull this up here. I believe it's Takumi Saito. Let me just double check that real quick, though. Is there a... I'm trying to see if Shin Ultraman will beam into theaters. Does it tell me who's going to be playing it? The movie was supposed to be out in 2021 to celebrate the character's 55th anniversary. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Takumi Saito. Takumi Saito, who previously appeared in Shin Godzilla, will star as the lead in Shin Ultraman. So yeah. So Takumi Saito has in fact been cast to go ahead and play the lead role in Shin Ultraman. You could probably try and find a photo of him if you want. Takumi, Takumi Saito, Saitoh. So yeah. It does say that he was in Shin Godzilla, I am curious. I was like, now that it has me wanting to ask the question, like, is this the same character? Like, is the Ultraman character legit in Shin Godzilla movie? And that same character, like, is he going to be playing the same character he did in Godzilla, or is this like a new character that he's going to be representing? That would be trippy if he's playing the same character. I mean, who knows? Maybe the connective tissues really do go that deep. But I'm glad you asked that question, Enrique, because it makes me question now whether or not what is this the same character? But I have a feeling he's just portraying somebody new in this Shin Ultraman movie. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. And then last but not least, this was something that I saw kind of very last minute that I found really interesting when it comes to Donbrothers. I wanted to go ahead and bring to people's attention. The real Matt Hunt this week, or earlier this week, or earlier today. When was this? The 23rd. So yeah, this morning he dropped this photo. Donbrothers DX Don Onitaijin, our first fully articulated Sentai Robo. This is directly from Donbrothers. It looks as though we're probably this is some toy catalog stuff, or maybe that's the actual cover for the upcoming toy. You know, we've kind of showcased already and mentioned one of the new forms that our Donbrothers are certainly going to be taking in their avatar forms. And we've highlighted what they're going to be potentially looking like. But one of the things that we've mentioned before is that once they transform into these avatar forms, or these robo forms of theirs, I should say, these robo forms of theirs, then they're going to be able to actually form a robot itself, and this is the robot. It looks absolutely great. If you ask me, I truly do love the design, especially with the idea of it having two blades. I think it looks and works great if you ask me. But if anything, one of the things that I've been loving so far, especially when it comes to Donbrothers, is the idea of just how great the Zord battles have certainly looked. The movement, the special effects. I mean, they really have captured my imagination, just blew me away. Than anything I ever expected. You know, when they teased us of these CGI Zord battles over in Zenkaiger, I was not impressed. But to be able to see the leap that it certainly has taken in Donbrothers has blown me away. So the fact that we get the opportunity to see this in action, with everybody's robo forms combined to go ahead and create this looks great. And I think on top of the fact that not only does this look great, but as a toy, the fact that this is our first fully articulated Sentai Robo, I kind of want to know how many articulation points this thing has. What's the maneuverability like in this? Is this as maneuverable as like live action Real Soldier Zord, which was incredible? I think this could be really cool to have a fully articulated Sentai Robo like that. So, again, I'm not a big toy collector, but I will say this: if I do see somebody have an unboxing of this or putting this sort of together, I am really fascinated to kind of see how this looks. If it's sturdy at all, if it's flimsy, again, how many articulation points there are, where are the articulation points? Because just with the maneuverability we've seen from the CGI battles have provided for us with the Zords, this feels very much like a natural first step in regards to the evolution of producing your Zords. And I'm sure they probably have been maybe articulated in certain ways before. Like, I can't imagine that they've never had some levels of articulation, but this seems as though like we're really getting into the nitty gritty of really detailed movement in here. And, when it comes to Donbrothers, I should just say, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, but it looks great, man. It looks great. Again, this literally just dropped, I think, earlier today, or maybe it was like late last night. They've been pushing this around, the idea of a fully articulated Sentai Robo. And this looks like this is definitely the Robo forms from our Donbrothers, a series that I continue to love. But guys, go ahead and certainly let me know your thoughts in regards to that. So shout out to the real Matt Hunt, and I think even Ranger Command or one of the other websites did go ahead and rangerboard.com, I think, also put up photos of it as well. So definitely go ahead and check it out. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, that wraps up all the topics for this week. Um, Let me see here. Enrique says in May, the Robotaros will appear in the upcoming episodes of Don Brothers. Yeah, I don't just don't know what episodes they will be in, but yeah, definitely this summer. I can vouch for you, Adam. Toby really thought outside the box, way outside. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Totally agree with you there. All right. With that out of the way, guys, we will now transition into your live viewer questions. If you ever want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question, feel free to do so. A plus more phenomenal at gmail.com. Again, that's a plus more phenomenal at gmail.com. Submit them throughout the entirety of the week, if you will. We do recommend one email per person. We've just gotten so many emails this time around, just one question as well. So one email, one question. Certainly go ahead and feel free to throw your thoughts out there. I don't even know how many we have, but we've got a bajillion. There's 33 emails that we've got. So let's dive into this, man. Let's dive into this. I might go back a little bit further because I think we did miss one last week because it was so long. But we'll go ahead and try and kick off with it. This was Jamal Brooks. All right, so this is a long one. So we'll start off with Jamal because he did drop this to me back on the 15th. Why once a Ranger was excellent. He says, I'm Jam Jam, but you can call me Jamari. What's up, Jamari? Why Once a Ranger is excellent anniversary team up after Forever Red. Even way better than any of the ones from the Neo Saban era team ups we've had in a recent episode. Was 2 parts instead of 1, which is I was a big fan of that. The Retro Rangers from each of the Disney era seasons from Ninja Storm and Mystic Force. Epic return from our fan favorite veteran Johnny Young Bosch as Adam Park. Once a Ranger for me was definitely up there in regards to one of my favorite crossover events, despite the fact that it was probably, again, I'm not going to bash Operation Overdrive too much, but one of the least exciting seasons. They definitely had a fantastic crossover. Main villain was Thrax, who was the adult son of Rita and Lord Zed. The Retro Rangers became the main team when the Overdrive Rangers lost their connection to the morphing grid. Each theme song of the Retro Rangers played every time they were on screen fighting, both in civilian and Ranger forms. The Retro Rangers got to pilot the Overdrive Ranger Zords, but were still functioning in brand new footage. That was pretty badass. The Sentinel Knight was able to channel his remaining energy to fully restore each of the Rangers' powers, which was a great, simple explanation of lost powers being brought back. Adam as MMPR Black, he got to not only pilot one of the Overdrive team's Megazords, but he got to face off against Thrax one-on-one and use the Defender Vest power-up, which shows any Ranger can use the Overdrive team's weapons and gears. That was such a badass moment for Adam. I absolutely loved it. Homeboy's always putting himself in danger. You got to admire that. The Overdrive team gave up being Rangers and heroes when they felt they did not matter anymore. This showed that Andrew really did pay them to be Power Rangers since the first episode, but they came back when they learned their lives weren't fulfilling when they left. While this was the biggest issue of the team up for many fans, it was actually quite unique from the writer's perspective. The grand finale, each of the Operation Rangers got to fight alongside the Retro Rangers. In the end, Retro Rangers gave simple details to what they've been doing since their series ended, even telling the Overdrive team they can always contact them in the future, and the Retro Rangers' powers were never destroyed again, meaning they could morph again whenever there's trouble. 95 out of 100. Yeah, it was a great team up. It's a great team up, Jamari. So thank you very much, man, for your thoughts. We got Jessica Friedman here. Do you hope we'll get more former Ranger cameos next season? In regards to next season, I'm assuming you're talking about the 30th anniversary. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more Ranger cameos instead of just David Yost. Again, for me, the legendary OG Rangers, when I think of them, I think of like original Saban era stuff. I would like to see them sort of as cameos, but if we are putting together a new team of Rangers for the 30th anniversary, led by Yen, and then maybe, just maybe, perhaps a mixture of past Rangers. I would like those past Rangers to consist of Neo Saban, like that current time period that we have, Neo Saban / Hasbro, and even Disney. I don't know how big they're certainly going to make this team, if we've got Yen as one and we've got a total of 5, maybe 6 Rangers, you pick and choose however you certainly want. But I would like that combination to be somewhere in between current to Neo Saban stuff and then maybe Disney era stuff and the legendary OGs from the Saban era coming back as cameos is kind of how I'm picturing it in my head. Marcelino. What's up, Marcelino? Appreciate you coming through. I don't think I saw him in the live chat today. Maybe he was busy today. After the release of the 2017 Power Rangers movie, people were speculating and fan casting on who they wanted to see play Tommy Oliver in future sequels. When the 2017 cast were asked about who they wanted to see play Tommy, all of them answered Rihanna. What the fuck? Rihanna. After the interview, the internet went crazy saying that Tommy should not only be played by a male actor and not be gender swapped. What are your thoughts on the subject? And do you think Rihanna would have been a good Tommy Oliver, or would you want someone else to play the role? What? I never heard of this story before. Rihanna, Tommy Oliver. Was that a thing? Cineblend, which celebrity should play the Green Ranger in the next Tommy Oliver? This was from Cineblend.com. Is Rihanna? Because they did have Becky G, right? So the idea of going from musical artist to another musical artist, if you've paid attention to the world of TV and film production, you've noticed one trend that seems to make major hoopla, revival, rebooting. Recently had the privilege to speak with Power Rangers actress Becky G, who played Trini. When asked who she would play Tommy, Becky G says Rihanna. That would be awesome. I think she'd kill it. So Becky G mentioned Rihanna. I'd have to see if the rest of the team, like Dacre Montgomery, Naomi Scott, I'm curious if they mentioned the idea that they would like Rihanna, according to your question. Becky G certainly suggested it. Says looks like Becky G found a Green Ranger in a hopeless place. See what he did there. And with Rihanna becoming a more seasoned actress with each role, she may be ready to lead a big budget blockbuster like Power Rangers number 2. Since Tommy Oliver was teased in Power Rangers post-credit scenes, fans have been wondering who might play the fan favorite. The new cast of Power Rangers, including Becky G, has been open about wanting a female actress to take the role. Tons of changes were made to the original 5 actors. While Rihanna might be an unlikely choice, she's been doing a fair amount of acting of work lately. Yeah, she has been in some things for sure. So it looks like Becky G has referenced the idea of would love to see Tommy. I'm not seeing anybody else in this interview, at least from Cineblend, that mentioned the rest of the team or cast wants to see Rihanna, but it seems as though the rest of the team would like to see at least a female Tommy Oliver. And I kind of was always under the impression that the Tommy we were gonna get in an upcoming sequel was gonna be a female. I don't know why I was under that impression, but I felt like from the interviews I had seen from the cast, maybe even Dean Israelite himself, I can't remember if they confirmed that Tommy was going to be a female or if that's the direction that they certainly was thinking about going. Rihanna, though, I haven't seen too much of Rihanna in movies to really know what her capacity level is. I mean, granted, look, we're not going to get a Power Ranger 2 from this cast, so it don't really matter. Ocean's 8, I think I saw, or at least remember her being pretty good in. Battleship, I mean, the movie itself was terrible. Valerian that she was in, she's been in some pretty bad movies. Battleship and Valerian. She was in This Is the End, apparently, it looks like, but I'm not quite sure. Let me see if I can go to IMDb. Becky, it's not like Becky G was the strongest actor either. I would be open to the idea of a female Tommy. I don't mind the idea of a gender swap, honestly. As far as Rihanna, I probably wouldn't want her in the role. I probably would need to see a little bit more from her before putting her in the role. So for me, Probably not. But I wouldn't mind a female Tommy Oliver in that regards. But again, I don't know. I guess, could she do great? I'm pretty sure she probably could. She's a performer in general. I think she's probably a better actor than Becky G. So maybe, but it just feels like a weird fit to me. Just a weird fit. Michael Rhymes, my thoughts on Go Busters versus Beast Morphers. So sorry for this being long, but I thought it was interesting to write. While I enjoy Beast Morphers for what it was, I'm very much prefer Go Busters. Story for me was much more consistent in Go Busters. Beast Morphers went way too hard on, hey, remember in this thing from the previous season? Or remember this person from this previous season, to the point where I started to question if the writers had a story planned out. From what I hear, Messiah was heavily inspired by Vengeance, like, oh, this villain is inspired by Vengeance. Let's adapt the Vengeance inspired villain into Vengeance himself. I do love that Evox was ultimately revealed as Vengeance from RPM, even played by the same actor. The Rangers and Go Busters were more like spies than cadets who became Rangers after a computer virus breaks out. I also find Enter and Escape miles better than Blaze and Roxy by 100%. Though, to give credit where it's due, Blaze and Roxy were excellent in season 1. When they were avatars. Their season 2 versions and their human counterparts were both confusing and jarring. The Rangers have an animal DNA weakness in Beast Morphers often didn't make sense for me, while Go Busters felt more important and helped kick the series forward. Red Ranger's fear of chickens was hilarious every time, though I prefer Devin freezing in place when he saw dogs. I absolutely loved Commander Shaw's character. While she didn't start off super serious, but I like that she became softer and got closer to her son Ravi. As for Go Busters Commander, well, he didn't really have much character to him. I can't wait for Commander Shaw's cameo in the Dino Fury. I hope she fits well and is written as she was known for in Beast Morphers. To end off, while I personally really love and prefer Go Busters over its adaptation, Beast Morphers, I think both are really great series for different people. I found it really cool that Go Busters, there was an episode or two where the Rangers got to fight with parallel versions of themselves that were from a world where Messiah never got out. Yeah, you make some great and certainly enjoyable points, at least in regards to the commander for Go Busters. I always saw them very much sort of as a team. I really did love the team that the Go Busters certainly had around them, much better than Ben and Betty. You know what I mean? So while the commander itself definitely had maybe some connective tissues, to say that of Jin and the past between the two of them, I always really loved the work that those two put into, or the three that they put in, the commander and then his two operatives that definitely worked along with him. But great thoughts, Michael. Adam Perea says this may not happen, but if David Yost potentially returning for a 30th anniversary, we know that David is very protective of himself and his character of Billy. Would you like to see the Alien Rangers come back, even if not played by the original actors themselves? Or have all but one of them just voice while in costume? The Alien Rangers clearly never lost their powers whatsoever. Have Sestria appear, played by a different actress, if Hasbro decides to follow the storyline of Billy during Zeo when he went to Aquitar. We know Billy fell in love with Sestria after she helped him get restored to the normal age. If there is anybody that I probably would be okay with coming back with Billy, it would be her. I don't necessarily need the entirety of the Alien Rangers team. Just her, though, and a nice little brief background history of what David or Billy's been up to. I'm completely cool with that. How did Andros become a ranger and knew Zordon? Andros explained he grew up in the space colony outside of Earth called KO-35 and knew of Zordon. When we met Auric the Conqueror in Zeo, he learned that Zordon's name was known to all those who were good. As such, it is possible Andros knew of Zordon but never met him in person until the finale. My theory is that the space powers were crafted on KO-35 along with the Megazords, and Andros simply ended up using them. Maybe he is the one who created them. In the episode where Zane wakes up from his 2-year cryogenic freeze, we see a flashback of Zane and Andros already Rangers and fighting a huge battle that did not end so well. Different planets, different powers, but all still connected to the universal morphing grid. Andros said one time when he first confronted Astronema after finding out she is Corone, he told her that when they were kids, they both wanted to become Power Rangers, meaning that they were Rangers out there, like the Alien Rangers Trey and the Phantom Ranger. Yeah, that's a good question. You know, if they know of Power Rangers, maybe the idea of them knowing of Zordon is a real thing. Then, if you're aware of the Power Rangers, maybe they are aware of the mentorship of things also. That is a good question though, but that's the only thing that I can think of, Francois. So thank you very much for your thoughts on that. Ibase, aside from my dislike of modern day Tommy, out of all the Power Ranger characters we've had throughout the years, which ones either don't deserve the hate they get or underappreciated? I think Vita is maybe a little bit underappreciated from Mystic Force. I've always been a big Vita fan. I feel like she was Izzy before there was an Izzy. So I kind of feel like she's maybe a little bit underappreciated. I just like her swag and her uniqueness about her. I really do. Um, Either don't deserve the hate they get or underappreciated. Um, yeah, I'll put Vita out there for sure. I guess Mystic Force as a whole probably doesn't get talked about enough. I'm not a big fan of it, but let's see here. Alexander, what's up, Alexander? Do you think the 1995 Power Ranger movie would be very different if Jason, Zach, Trini never left? If all the other Rangers were still the classic Dino, and Tommy was still the Green Ranger? I wonder why in the movie they not once used the Thunder Zords. The CGI from the Ninja Zords were already pretty atrocious. I know the movie was reshot and written entirely according to the cast at cons. Here, let me read that again. Do you think that the 95 Power Ranger movie would have been very different if Jason, Zach, Trini never left? Mm, probably. I think maybe we would have gotten more dialogue from some of the other characters, but you know, I don't know. I feel like Adam even became an even bigger fan favorite of mine in that movie. Um, Time to boogie with the bear, baby. I don't know. Aisha had some great lines too. I mean, it definitely would have felt different. I think it probably would have been a completely, I don't want to say completely different movie, but in hindsight, it's hard to look back and think how much things would have been different though. But I think it probably would have been a little bit significantly more different just because of the different personalities. And if all the Ranger Zords were still the classic Dino or Thunder Zords and Tommy was still the Green Ranger, why? I wonder why in the movie they not once use the Thunder Zords. Well, I think maybe the non-use of the Thunder Zords. I mean, we do get introduced to them very early as Power Rangers, but I think at the time when we do get introduced to them as Power Rangers, I don't think there's a big bad as of yet, like a creature that's expected to grow in the movie at that point in time when I think they fight the ooze monsters right on the construction site in their gear. So there's really no need to jump into the Zords. But then they wind up losing their powers, don't they? And they got to go ahead and get a whole new set of powers. So I just think it's just storyline purposes as to why they don't use them. Um, it's just really no need to, unfortunately. Um, and so when we do go to the jungle and we get their ninja zords and things like that, their ninja powers, it's a whole new complete set of stuff like that. So, you just kind of change course a little bit. It's a movie. You want to go a little bit bigger, while you certainly are still keeping the tone and the feel of a Power Ranger movie. You are a Power Ranger episode. You are lifting it up and making it bigger than what it certainly is. And the idea of doing something different, putting more money towards a new power change, new Zords. I think that's probably the route that they certainly want to go. So I think that's probably why we don't see any Thunder Zords in there. Let's see here. L'Oreal's got a couple questions. About time Ollie was put in his place for being a freaking know-it-all. Am I right? Yeah, absolutely. He definitely needed that moment for himself. And again, you guys mentioned it earlier on in the episode. I will be interested to see how much Ollie changes from this. If he does, is he going to continue to give Amelia a hard time? I'm sure there probably will be some Amelia and Ali hard times. Maybe not as harsh though. Now that they are hopefully on the same page and understand each other just a little bit better. When Ali was told off his attitude, I was like, geez, oh, Ashley, never thought I'd see that happen. If anything, I could picture Ollie getting a talking to from my 10-year-old Green Ranger Elliot. You say because Kate or Katie, our Pink Ranger, she and Amelia are two peas in a pod. Ollie would tease Elliot's quirky pink girlfriend. I love it. I love it. Mackenzie, what's up, Mackenzie? If Power Rangers was made exactly like the Super Sentai they were based on, do you think we would have lost iconic characters that we've had in PR, even amazing storylines? Um, yeah, absolutely. I think Samurai is a perfect example of that, of Power Rangers trying to be exactly like Super Sentai. It's if I want to see something like that, I'll just watch Super Sentai. What's the point of watching Power Rangers? That's the case. The only difference would be watching something with subtitles on and the other thing without, because we understand it. But if Power Rangers was made exactly like Super Sentai, I probably would just watch Super Sentai. Um, do you think we would lose iconic characters, even amazing storylines? Absolutely. You take away any creativity whatsoever of being able to tell a new, unique story. Copy and paste just never looks good on anybody. So yeah, I probably would have just watched Super Sentai. Kurt, what's up, Kurt? What were some of your favorite power ups and armors from Power Rangers Super Sentai? You may include the ones we got in Dino Fury so far. Well, the P.A.K.A. and the Terra's armor, that freeze armor from Dino Fury, looks amazing. If you ask me, I still love Devin's thing from Beast Morphers. The claws that he wind up having. I actually really enjoyed a lot of those. The power ups. Trying to think of other power ups that we've had that I've been big fans of. I did like the power ups from, I believe, Jungle Fury got them some power ups. I did like the Jungle Fury power ups. I'm trying to think of some Super Sentai ones that I was a big fan. I did not like the Kara Major power ups at all. Real Soldiers were good, but then again, that's the same thing as Dino Fury. Didn't really care for Go Busters so much. I want to say I did like Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger power ups that they had. Yeah, I did like the Pat Ranger, Lupin Ranger power ups. Those were pretty badass. I've seen some great new weapons from, like, they had even, I remember Lupin Ranger, the Red Phantom Thief. Homeboy had like a boomerang sword. Holy shit, it looks so good. It looks so good. Lupin Pat, they had definitely had some great power ups recently. Jericho, what's up, Jericho? And I think I probably even, while I haven't finished it, I've seen enough photos. Zoologer also got some great power ups, I think. Jericho, he says the topic or subject, wish Ninja Steel was better than what it was, don't we all? Do you wish Ninja Steel was a lot better? I would have loved if it was a homage to Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm was a season where all the other students got captured by the ninjas. Lothor, Ninja Steel would have been about everyday Ninja Academy life instead of another high school season that didn't really do anything. You make Ninja Steel a separate school, then you make a reference the Wind and Thunder Academies, and even the door open for those Rangers to guest star, including the late Pua, who was still with us at the time. But they were going to redo the school setting so soon, it should have had a twist. They could have had a fusion of Harry Potter meets Naruto, but instead they went the more generic route. Yeah, I was really hoping that we would have had a cameo from Ninja Storm in Ninja Steel, but yeah, it was a big disappointment, unfortunately. Nicole, what's up, Nicole? Coming at me with a couple questions. Is it me or do villains like Rita, Zed, and Divatox only create and send out one monster at a time to fight the Rangers? Do you think it has to do with the writing, the Sentai footage, or a combination of both? Probably a combination of both. Just storytelling purposes, what kids can handle. Very formulaic of how we've had Power Rangers for years. So I think it's probably a combination of both. I mean, if Sentai footage showcases two villains, and I'm sure we'll probably get two villains. Something like somebody like a Simon Bennett would probably open the door of having one of those villains destroyed, but the second one maybe even coming back and surviving for an episode or two, right? So he does play around with the formula a little bit in that regards. But but I think the idea of one monster at a time is probably writing Sentai footage and really just the formula of how they've want to finish off every episode. Um, Tight and concise with its own storytelling. Were there villains that actually sent out more than one at a time? I'm sure there have been. I'm sure that there have been. I remember in an episode of Ninja Storm when Lothor lost his Pam remote, he asked his niece Mara and Capri why he could only send one monster out at a time. Being in response, they said the remote was used too much when a little kid found the remote after Mara and Capri lost it while on Earth. I'm sure that there probably have been times when they've probably have sent out two monsters at once. Um, if you guys remember, please let me know in the live chat. I'm drawing a blank right now. It wouldn't surprise me if we've seen it in Beast Morphers or Dino Fury already at least once, but I could be wrong. Gabriel, what's up, Gabriel? With the debacle of last week's Fan First Tuesday, does this make PR fans not look forward to the next Fan First unless it's Hasbro Pulse? I do think the level of anticipation has certainly fallen. I think I think people have been burned. So will there be less viewers? Yes. As less as people are thinking, I don't know. I think if anything, there'll probably be more curiosity, if anything, to see can Hasbro rebound. Some people will probably just come back to see are they going to make a debacle of themselves again. I think unfortunately people like to see other people fail. Not to say that that's something that we should all strive for, but there is, people unfortunately like to see people fall. And so I'm sure that there will be a group of people that will simply tune into the next Fan First just to see how terrible it could potentially be. Some people will be curious to see are they going to fall on their face again, or will Hasbro have a different mindset and change the trajectory? So I think people will certainly tune in, but I think maybe with different anticipation levels and all very much for different reasons. But they definitely upset some fans. And if there's a pushback against Hasbro for it, I can understand. For the 30th anniversary, what Rangers from the eras we've had that you'd like to come back aside from David Yost? I was thinking as far as like Disney era stuff. I believe Jen from Time Force. I believe Time Force was Disney. Give me Jen, and will even say, give me um. Just give me 1 second. While I don't necessarily have a complete list of people that I would like to see, I do have some names that I will throw out. Probably more than it can even certainly fit. But if we had to certainly go ahead and put a team together, or if there were going to be like, let me just, you said for the 30th anniversary, what Rangers from the eras we've had that you'd like to see come back? Okay. So David Yost, that's certainly fine. As far as part of the team itself, I might come in. Oh, I might we will have a new character in Yen, perhaps as the Red Ranger. I would assume would be the leader. I would love Jen from Time Force to certainly come back, and good old Aaron Cahill. I would also really like Summer from RPM to come back. That would be Rose McIver. It's a pretty big name. I'm flipping between him and her and Eka Darville, who played the Red Ranger Scott, I believe, on RPM. Both big names that have come out of Power Rangers that gone to do the other things. I had an interview. I had a Q&A question that I wound up asking Rose McIver, after her show I Zombie wind up getting canceled on CW after like 4 or 5 seasons. This was maybe back in 2019. So since then, it's been like 3 years since I asked her this question. But I did inform her at the time when she was here in Dallas. It's like, hey, Hasbro has purchased Power Rangers. They're going to be creating a brand new content, fresh eyes and a fresh view on the franchise and things like that. Would you be open to returning to Power Rangers if they ever approached you with a really solid script? And she said, look, I've got no job right now, but she does recognize what Power Rangers certainly did in regards to her career, in regards to setting her up and stuff, her launching pad, if you will. And she seemed very open to the idea. She certainly said that, yes, she certainly would return to Hasbro if they reached out to her. I think the idea of it filming in New Zealand helps because that's where she certainly comes from. She's got past experience with the franchise, so she seems open to it. Now, whether or not, one, Hasbro can afford her, and two, whether or not the script is good enough to certainly get her back, we are on Netflix now, right? There is new management in town. And if I'm Hasbro and we're about to celebrate the 30th anniversary, there's a part of me that kind of wants to really knock this out of the park and do something rather unique and impressive for the fans to go ahead and round off the 30th anniversary. So can you imagine getting somebody not only like a David Yost for just a guest returning appearance in maybe one episode, but also a fantastic actress and Erin Cahill, who everybody loves, Jen, another fantastic actress in Rose, people that have really upped their game in regards to performances and have done really big things since Power Rangers. I think Rose would be fantastic to have her in here. Look, I would even love to see a returning Devin from Beast Morphers. Give me freaking was it Tyler from Dino Charge? I would love him in here. Thinking about, there's a part of me that wants to even say William Schufelt from, Brody from Ninja Steel. Get him in here. An opportunity for some people to certainly redeem themselves, if you will. Whether or not we want to go as far back as Megaforce or complete, like, heck, I would even throw in Lauren in there somewhere from Samurai if we can. Like, I think the three big ladies I definitely would love to see: Lauren, Summer, and Jen, I think for me would be the three that I would love to have in the 30th anniversary, aside from Yen. But some of the other gentlemen that I wind up naming, I think that's a good plethora of current people and Disney era people. But again, I have no idea who they're picking, who wants to come back. This is just all speculation and some names I'm throwing out that I would like to see have an appearance in here. For you say Tori from Ninja Storm, Lauren from Samurai, Ethan from Dino Thunder, Sky from SPD, Vita and Daggeron from Mystic Force, Kendrick and Corone from Lost Galaxy, Zane from In Space, and Ryan from Lightspeed, and Eric from Time Force. So you definitely have a lot of people certainly coming back. Again, I don't know how big this is going to be. I don't know who's going to encompass this team and any other guest appearances. But those are just some names that I'll definitely throw out. But thank you for your suggestions there, Gabriel. I really appreciate it, man. Jackson Peterson, how I would fix Turbo. Jackson says, make TJ and his team become the Turbo Rangers from the beginning, including Justin. Tommy and his team already had their ending at the end of Zeo. Bulk and Skull actually went to Paris as new detectives. They only came back during In Space. Quick Star Wars monologue telling us that Zordon summoned Demetria to lead a team of her own Rangers to face Divatox, while he and the Zeo Rangers are dealing with other villains that remained. This accomplishes a number of things. It lets the Turbo Rangers stand on their own merits, not be judged as replacements by fans, and then to fill in what happened to the Zeo Crystal plot hole and open a potential team up with the Zeo Rangers via Sentai footage. Okay, not too bad. I like that idea. As in for the Goofy Car Ranger footage, they can use some of it for TJ and his team because they were new Rangers, and just for Justin himself, or use them for the Megazord fights, considering in Car Ranger, which was a parody series of Super Sentai, all the monsters threw actual food as their attacks. Chase into Space, the two-parter, remains intact as an epic lead-in to In Space. I kind of dig it. I kind of like the breakdown, Jackson. I really do, man. Appreciate your thoughts. Let's see here. Joey Thompson. What do you think of when Super? Oh, what do you think of when Sentai footage doesn't make sense with American brand new footage? So, for instance, in Super Mega Force, all four of the Guy Rangers never made sense in Sentai footage when Morph. Noah was all of a sudden strong and going off on his own, getting more screen time fighting Argus in Gokaiger footage. Jake as Green was too childish and clumsy, and Orion would act goofy and feminine. Um, Cherry on top, whenever we saw Troy and Orion next to each other in the suits, Troy is taller than Orion in the Sentai footage and the opposite during the American footage. I would switch the colors. Listen, one of the things that I quickly realized is that when it comes to at least stature, if a person resembles the person in a Power Ranger costume or Super Sentai costume, the one thing that I've come to realize is they don't care. they just do not care. It's one of the reasons why I think when we were announced the Dino Fury cast, before we knew what colors they were certainly going to be, it's one of the reasons why I was emphasizing the idea of Zato possibly being the Black Ranger, because of the fact that in the show itself, Bomba, as the Black Ranger, he's the older, more mature gentleman, the bigger stature of all the characters. And when I look at Russell, I'm like, boom, that's a perfect figure. Russell has to be the Black Ranger, and trying to figure out, okay, so is Javi then the Red Ranger, if you will? So looking back on it and having that mindset, I think that's the same mindset that you're kind of referring to in here when you say things like Troy is taller than Orion in the Sentai footage. So when they're standing next to each other, you can clearly see the difference and things like that. It is a little bit of an eye roll, but I think I really don't think that they care. I really do not think that they care in that sense. I think the idea is, let's just take the footage, let's adapt it as much as we can to the storylines. When we get our characters, we'll try and give them certain characteristic traits so they can kind of be like that. Like for me, Jake is, you say Jake is Green was too childish and clumsy. For me, when I look at Jake, the Jake character, I kind of see that. Like Jake was always kind of a quirky type of guy, kind of the nerd. I mean, he was a jock to a certain extent because he was pretty athletic with the soccer and stuff. But when I looked at Jake and Gia, I always looked at the nerd trying to get the girl that was outclassing him. So Jake was always the humorous one. I felt like the one smiling, cracking the jokes. So I think they definitely tried to mold his characteristics a little bit to that of the green persona of Gokaiger, and never quite necessarily fit, but they definitely at least try to make, in that aspect at least, try to give the characters similar traits, if you will. But outside of that, I really don't think they care. I think their main focus is, how can we adapt this footage into and include our own storyline, and they kind of go from there. I think the days of wondering, oh, this guy's as tall as this character, he's got to play this ranger. No, I think those days are done. And I unfortunately learned that here with Dino Fury. Ionis, what's up, Ionis? Thank you very much for coming through. If the pandemic hadn't happened, how do you think it would have affected Dino Furies proper? I don't know. I feel like they done a pretty good job. Maybe more, probably, if anything, maybe more extras. But outside of that, I think they've handled it relatively well. I think if anything, probably more extras and more people on sets in the towns, right? Because the towns are just empty, man. There's like no extras out there whatsoever. So I think that's really the only change. Outside of that, I haven't really been able to see, oh yeah, in Dino Fury, this looks like a case of the pandemic having issues and them having to kind of work around it. I'm sure they've had their struggles doing it, but I don't necessarily know if it shows up in the final product, with the exception of the idea of just minimal extras, not a lot of people in the cities, in the towns, running away any longer than they certainly used to be. We used to have those big shots of town halls and stuff, and the people, walking about and stuff. Not so much anymore. So I think that's probably it. But I can barely tell that the pandemic happened when I watch Dino Fury. It still amazes me that Power Rangers Lost Galaxy continued using the Astro Mega Ship, allowing the show to pretty much to be pretty much a continuation of Power Rangers in space. Absolutely. Even when they had to team up with the Space Rangers. What do you think when a current season reuses the command center Megazord and brand new footage all season long from the previous? And do you wish we got more of that in modern day seasons? I'm having a hard time understanding that last. What do you think when a current season reuses the command center or Megazord in brand new footage all season long? I don't understand it. I'm sorry. And do you wish we got more of that in mod? I don't know what you mean by that. What do you think when a current season? I get the idea what you're saying. The idea of continuation. Lost Galaxy have using the mega ship from the previous season. But what do you think when a current season reuses the command center or Megazord in a brand new footage all season? Have we seen that happen in a current season? Maybe I'm blanking. Yeah, let me know. Let me know if you guys have seen that. I haven't seen it in that regards. So, do I wish there was more continuity? I do. But I feel like that ship has sailed a really long time ago, especially with the introduction to the multiverse and just different dimensions that these teams sort of live in. Yeah, I don't know if we've seen have we seen classic when you're saying that, I'm trying to think of like classic Command Center and Megazords that have used been from one season to the next in original footage. I just don't. Sorry, I'm not making the connection. Honest. All right, I'm gonna move on. Alexander, for the 30th anniversary season of Power Rangers, you talked about that we might get returning group of Rangers to appear throughout the season. I hope that they at least fight unmorphed that they've already morphed when they get to a fight. I know Super Sentai did this many times already, but I think it's time for Power Rangers to do something similar properly. I don't. When I say returning group of Rangers, I don't necessarily mean an entire team of Dino Thunder. I don't mean an entire team of Jungle Fury. I think I'm talking about a handful or maybe more of random members that might come together and form a team, or a handful or more random members that might pop up in an episode or two. So I'm not thinking the idea of a whole entire team of Time Force is going to have a moment in this 30th episode. That's not what I'm referring to, but I do mean a returning group of Rangers in regards to a handful of individual characters plucked from various seasons. How many that'll be? Will that be a representation of all 29 previous seasons? Probably not. But maybe 5 to 7 Rangers, I would assume. But again, that's just me speculating. The only question remains when it comes to those returning Rangers is, will they be Rangers who've lost their powers or not? Hope we at least get a simple explanation or a way for these Rangers who've lost their powers to get them back, even if it's just temporary, like what we got in Ninja Storm. I mean, who knows? Maybe they will bring people back that never lost their powers and they've always had their powers together. Some of the rumors or the things that we've heard from the Illuminati, less episodes but longer episodes. I hope that in turn does allow them to tell stories better, fill in some blanks for some of these returning characters in regards to what they've certainly been up to and that type of thing. But I'm okay if we see them in costume or not. I just want them to have some sort of impact. Like David Yost, I know a lot of people probably want to see him morph into his Blue Ranger costume. Will that happen? Who certainly knows. I still think Billy can be just as impactful not morphed as he is morphed. So I don't know how they plan on utilizing this or if they even plan on fighting. Again, I think it's just an idea of just originality as best as you can is all the thing I can ask for. Um, okay, yeah, that one's really long, Skylar. You do have a backup question here. So we'll go with the backup questions. What do you remember watching Zeo for the first time and that it was the first series to have the Rangers switch to different powers? I just remember it being really cool. Like I thought the costumes were really great for Zeo. And I really love the growth of other characters. Adam and Rocky really continue to establish themselves in that particular season. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy Adam and Rocky certainly as much as I do, especially Rocky. I think Rocky definitely found himself in Zeo, and I felt like Zeo was the first time that we were really sort of embarking on just better storytelling. I feel like it felt rejuvenated. I felt like, oh damn, we're getting something fresh here, something new. So I love the transition, and it was with characters I was super familiar with, so that was really really exciting. While we got pissed that Dino Charge as a whole was the only series of Power Rangers to have an Earth be destroyed and then restored with the dinosaurs, forcing it to be in an alternate dimension like RPM, do you think that makes that series unique? Did sort of open the idea of Rangers from other dimensions. Yeah, I do find that kind of unique in its own way. I didn't expect that storyline to go that direction, but it worked out. It definitely worked out. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Tyler. Oh, excuse me, John. John Schuyler, and I called the man Tyler. I'm sorry, John. Uh Abersing. What's up, Abersing? He's got a couple questions. Why is Power Rangers SPD far more famous than other series? It was just that damn good. I think the idea to police officers, I think the idea of them living amongst aliens, that was all rather unique and pretty creative to the world. Doggy Kruger, I think really took us by surprise too. They had a lot of really great stories, man. Really great stories. SPD is a special series among all other series because SPD Rangers don't become Power Rangers by simply getting morphers, right? They are trained vigorously and tested variously, and only then they're chosen to be Power Rangers. Yeah, very much a unique spin on the series for sure. Just like Time Force, they have cutting edge technology with other Ranger series do not have, and they don't kill the monsters, they capture them in cards. As far as I know, this is why SPD is the most famous. I'm sure there's a plethora of reasons, Abersing, but the ones that you certainly mentioned nail it for me in regards to some of the reasons for sure. So definitely. Kevin Richardson. Kevin's got a couple questions too. Kevin, thank you very much. With David Yost potentially returning for the 30th anniversary, do you think some longtime fans will have pushback with there being another anniversary season? Do you think some longtime fans will have pushback with there being another anniversary season? As those fans may still have upset feelings from when Saban ruined both the 20th and 25th anniversary by lazy writing all season long and Tommy milking. Maybe Hasbro can finally deliver. And yeah, to that I would say, Hasbro's not Saban. Hasbro from Beast Morphers, which they were handpicked and given, to them doing something on their own with Dino Fury from a creative standpoint has really put together some great episodes that have really enthused the fan base once again, that tell me that Hasbro has a different mindset in regards to how they want to tackle things compared to how Saban did. I know the Saban stuff does leave a terrible taste in people's mouths, but I think we should maybe have a little bit hope in regards to what Hasbro can certainly do. I mean, look, Beast Morphers, a lot of people enjoyed it. Maybe not the greatest season, but from what we got from Ninja Steel, talk about a great turnaround, right? And injecting some life back into your franchise and giving us some hope. Dino Fury, Hasbro's fully on board with that. It's blown fans away. Fans have been really, really pleased with it. Fans have come back into the fold because of Dino Fury. The anticipation level is super high. Now you're telling us that Hasbro wants to go ahead and create a 30th anniversary that is filming from 4 to 5 weeks long, which is very much out of the norm of how we've had Power Ranger formula in regards to storytelling and filming for an entirety of a season. And you're telling me Hasbro's taken the creative aspect of being on Netflix and producing lesser episodes, but now longer episodes for us for a possible 45, 44-minute length, if that does hold up true. That to me shows that there's a lot of creative thinking certainly going on in the background Could it fail miserably? Absolutely. But the trajectory tells me that they're doing new, creative, and better things. And so for those who have had pushback because of what the Saban era stuff is, we're not in that era anymore. I think we got to switch off that mentality. I know we've been burned, and maybe we can certainly still be burned again. But I would say, you said with David Yost potentially returning, do you think some longtime fans will have pushback for there being another anniversary season? This is the last anniversary season you guys are getting, so you better not push back against it, is all I'm going to say. Let's not have this entitlement aspect again of Power Ranger fans. All of a sudden, with the 30th anniversary, this now being the last anniversary that we could potentially have here, you know, um, let's not get in our feelings and all of a sudden start having some pushback, because we could not have an anniversary, and that would just send the fans in a huge uproar that Hasbro didn't even bother to do anything. So let's pick and choose our fights here. Either we want Hasbro to do it or we don't want Hasbro to do it. So somebody get on board whatever train. Because at this point in time, I do think that I don't think fans should worry that we're getting another anniversary season. If anything, we should be very thankful that Hasbro's given us another season. And again, seeing the trajectory of which has gone under Hasbro, I'm hoping that we're in good hands. Kevin's other question: why Kaku Ranger was used for the second half of MMPR Season 3. From what I know, back then they didn't want to change the suits because they viewed the Zyuohger costumes as iconic, so they only used the Sentai Zords and enemies from Seasons 2 and 3. In my opinion, them having actual Kaku Rangers as another team was just a cool bonus thing they did, and of course they used them in the further plot into Zeo. What do you think, Adam? I mean, definitely a possibility. MMPR suits have become so incredibly iconic. To change that would certainly, well, I don't want to say to change that, because they eventually did go on to go ahead and sort of change the costumes up a little bit. But yeah, maybe at that point the costumes were really that iconic. The idea of adding in a new one with the White Ranger is probably easier than changing that. So you might be right. I do wonder if there's a bigger story to it, but that could certainly be one of the reasons, Kevin, for sure. AJ, what's up, AJ? Says, what do you think of season 2, episode 7 of Dino Fury? Wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of it, but there were certainly aspects of it that I enjoyed. If I had to grade this episode, maybe a C plus, passing, barely passing, needs improvement. Are you relieved or surprised that Ali had final? Maybe that's a little bit too harsh. Maybe like a B minus. I don't know. Maybe that's too generous. I don't know. What would you guys grade episode 7? Are you relieved or surprised that Ali had finally apologized to Amelia for being a know-it-all, but also for being such a dick to her since they first met at Dino Henge? I do think that there are certain aspects of Ollie that can be very egotistical and arrogant. I don't know if everything that comes out of Ollie's mouth is him purposefully meaning to be a dick. I think it's somebody that just doesn't understand the way that he's certainly coming across as an asshole. And so sometimes we need our peers and our people that are older than us to kind of put us in our place and things like that. And there are certain aspects of what Ollie has said to Amelia in the past that have gotten chuckles that I certainly don't see as dickish. So I don't think he's been dickish all season, but he's definitely been an asshole from time to time for sure. This was definitely one of those episodes where it certainly came ahead. And I am really relieved that Ali definitely apologized. I think this allows Ali and Amelia to be on much more level ground, not seeing himself any better than her just because she's got different beliefs or believe in things that he necessarily doesn't, right? Because they have worked extremely well together in the past. But this is a very well-deserved apology that Amelia certainly had coming her way. And again, I think Kai Moya did a really good job in regards to making that apology feel very sincere, because it's not the fact that he just apologizes for this one moment in this episode, but he does apologize for everything else that has certainly kind of come before him, before that particular moment. And for me, very much relieved. I'm very happy that we wind up getting to see that. Crazy that Centaura now as Void Queen is acting more and more like the villain and even doesn't want to listen to Tarek being about going home, that she even destroyed the spaceship he fixed. Yeah, that blew my mind. I mean, the fact that he's like, look, the spaceship's ready. Let's go. He opens the door. I'm like, oh, he's not kidding. Like, he's ready to go. But yeah, Void Queen certainly makes her decision. And I gotta find out what this revenge is. What is she so adamant about of hurting the humans that she doesn't want to just get off of this wretched planet just yet? And maybe Datilla might be onto something in regards to maybe the humans at some point in time. Maybe Amelia is their daughter and took their daughter away or captured their daughter or whatever the case may be. And Void Queen at this point in time just wants to get her daughter back. It would make me fascinated to kind of know why Void Knight doesn't have that same animosity or revenge to get their daughter back. Maybe he's under the impression that she can't be found. Maybe she's dead or taken somewhere else. Maybe he doesn't think that she's on Earth. I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'm just throwing out speculation and thoughts right now. But we'll see. The Void Knight, the Void Queen stuff, though, definitely showcases a split, though, between her and Void Knight. I don't know about you, but this conflict between Tarek and Centaura was intense. It definitely was. Can you already see Tarek possibly switching sides in the next episode, like help the Rangers or even be destroyed? I can. Yeah, I definitely can. That's one of the things I pointed out in this episode, too. I am kind of curious if this is a case of Void Knight, Void Queen just being too overpowerful. Her ideas for revenge even consist the idea of killing or hurting anybody that gets in her way, even Tarek at this point. If she's determined to destroy the ship, push him back because of the fact of his opposition, imagine now the idea of thinking, you were the love of my life and now you are trying to help the Rangers to kind of take me down, sort of thing. Yeah, that's definitely a turn of events where I could see Void Queen wanting to go ahead and take out Tarek. And then unfortunately, maybe Tarek's last hurrah is a sense of, hey, I got to stop this woman that I once loved. The Sporix beast and the power has changed her from the person that I once knew. I'm on the brink of death or I can't stop her. Maybe the only people I can stop her are the Power Rangers. So here, take my powers. If it's going to be a power up that helps you out along the way, feel free to. So that's kind of the path that I'm taking. But again, I'm open to the idea of seeing what Simon and the rest of the writers have come up with this. But if you're asking me just the idea of like, hey, we got the Guy Sorg storyline from Real Soldier. How could that lineup or be adapted? Maybe that's the route that they go. But I do like the conflict. The Tarek and Centaura conflict, I agree with you, is definitely intense. Adrian, what's up, Adrian? Appreciate your questions. Hey, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's 7:51 a.m. here in Sydney as I write this. Get some sleep, bro. Go back to sleep. He says, if we were to get old Rangers back aside from Billy for the 30th anniversary, how do you think those Rangers who have already lost their powers even get them back? We know Power Rangers is known for not always sort of making sense. I mean, I don't feel like every Power Ranger team has lost their powers, though, right? I do think there's a possibility that some Rangers come back, certainly, that haven't lost their powers before. We are getting longer episodes, so maybe there are times to explain these. But yeah, you're right. Power Rangers usually never explains anything. But I always accustom that to the idea of we just don't have the time to explain that stuff, Maybe now we do have the time, so we'll definitely see. But so I'm under the impression that the people they get back will have already had their powers or kept them. And if they hadn't, maybe we'll get a little bit of a clarification. So I think we might. Perhaps Hasbro could bring in Sentinel Sight from Operation Overdrive, who was able to use his powers during the 15th anniversary to permanently restore past powers from the Rangers. By bringing him back, we could get Nick Sampson to return as Chip, the Yellow Mystic Force Ranger, who also voiced Sentinel Knight. It is always a possibility of that. You never know, Adrian, what sort of tidbit of information or Easter egg they wind up sort of throwing into these episodes to bolster how these powers came back. A second option would be Commander Shaw from Beast Morphers. We know she has a huge Ranger vault in Grid Battle Force of old Ranger weapons and morphers. What do you think? I mean, I like either of those, honestly. Either of those would really work for me. Probably the Commander Shaw might work a little bit better for me just based off of current continuity. That's something they might be able to kind of pull off if that's the case. But I do think there's a plethora of creative ways that you can certainly go about it and still explain it to people. Good old Attila. Good old Attila in the house. Appreciate you coming through. What villains besides Lord Zed would you like to see return for season 30? I would like to see Scorpina, Psycho Rangers, Lothor, and Master Org. By the way, do you think Lothor looks like a masked wrestler, or just a wrestling fan in me? No, he definitely looks like a luchador to me. He's always looked like a luchador to me. Lothor certainly has. I wonder where that influence of his design certainly came from. Like, who decided to go ahead and do that? Outside of Lord Zed, people that I would like to see return for the 30th anniversary. I love this choice of Scorpina. I think that would be cool. Also, always the Psycho Rangers would be fun. For me, I wouldn't mind seeing somebody from, like, say, the Machine Empire come back. I think that would be really cool. Lord Zed maybe teaming up with somebody from the Machine Empire. Maybe we got Lord Zed teaming up with somebody more current. Good old Sledge, I think, has always been I don't want to say a fan favorite, but always been somebody that we've seen multiple times kind of pop up already. Although maybe Sledge is finally destroyed after all this damn time. I have no idea. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some of those people back. You got a really good list there. I like Lord Zed for me feels like it's enough, but that could just be me. Harrison, what's up, Harrison? Which past season of Power Rangers and Super Sentai do you think was really great but had a decent to underwhelming finale? I think for me, Lupin Pat. I don't know if I don't think I was the biggest fan of Lupin Pat. I still had some questions. I still wanted to see how the story ended for certain people. Like, was it Lupin X, the Gold Ranger, I believe? I definitely wanted to see more of him along with, was it Lupin, the guy, the main head guy from Lupin Ranger? I felt it was just decent. I wasn't too big of a fan of it. So maybe Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger, I felt a little bit underwhelmed with its finale. And Power Rangers had a decent but to underwhelming finale for Power Rangers. God, I feel like I haven't really enjoyed Power Rangers like that since Dino Charge and Beast Morphers. And I enjoyed the Beast Morphers finale. We haven't seen the Dino Fury finale as of yet. If we're talking recent stuff, I would say maybe Dino Charge. But when I say Dino Charge, it's not necessarily so much the finale, so much as just the second half of that season in general. But I get what you're saying, though. Is it true there's going to be a new Power Ranger movie and universe on Netflix? Yes. If so, do you think if the villains and foot soldiers, what do you think if the villains and foot soldiers look like humans? I think that would make regular people who aren't Power Ranger fans more acceptable and open-minded. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall seeing a picture of a monster in the show Stranger Things that looks really frightening. I think it would be cool to have a monster that looks more humanoid than a rubber-suited monster. Well, listen, that's one of the things that we've mentioned before, especially when it comes to Super Sentai. I love villains that have humanoid forms instead of rubber suits. Whether they're human or whether they're an alien with the humanoid form, I'm cool with it. I just want to be able to see expressions, and that's one of the reasons why I always enjoyed humanoid formed villains, just because of the fact of they're very relatable. You can see their expressions coming through from the performance of who the actor certainly is. So the person can be human, they can be alien from another world, that has a humanoid figure that you can clearly see the face and the expression and the features and stuff. As long as it's not a rubber suit with no moving mouth and stuff. Hell, you might even be able to we can get away with like a really great puppeteer design for like a face. If you can get some people from, the Jim Henson Company to do some really great puppeteering work. Maybe that might even go a long way if you're trying to do something more alien form figure. I just think it's all about this. And if you can emote and show various amounts of emotions in a face, then I do think the audience will relate and feel a little bit more frightened and feel the fact that stakes are a little bit more high. So I think it's possible. I definitely do think it's possible. But I would like to see them more in more humanoid forms. But again, I think you can still be an alien and have a humanoid form. Power Rangers Hasbro reboot tone from AJ says regarding the Hasbro reimagining universe. I know we've talked about this 100 times, but it is very heavy. The adult-oriented content should be completely modernized as much as possible. If it were to be set in the 90s, that just screams Hasbro just trying to be nostalgic to the older and stubborn fans of MMPR. The new generation won't get the 90s stuff. You say the kids programming like what we have right now can stay as is. Same if we get animation as well. We know that the universe being on Netflix instead of theaters is a much safer route in that case. It doesn't do so well thanks to the general public who simply just don't care about Power Rangers, and because the name alone screams children's show. The universe that's targeting the adult fans should be for adults 13 to 21, and I think that's kind of where was it TV 14? Like when we get our CW stuff, our dramedy stuff, these days, all that is within that age range without any hint of being childish, but having really fun dialogue like in other properties. Even the 2017 movie gave us really great humor. And I think that's kind of where we are kind of fitting at right now. I do think that if we get a movie or a television series, I think one of the things we have talked about, I think that's probably the perfect age range that you want to be able to tackle, that young adult sort of audience, transitioning into high school, people that have come into high school and just kind of gotten out of college type of thing. Most important thing, the first project that comes out by Jonathan Entwistle, it needs to be self-aware and not get way ahead of itself by trying to set up a new universe all at once. It needs to be its own thing and see where it goes. To wrap up, we need Power Rangers to not only be popular again globally, but needs to be taken seriously as a superhero franchise. Power Rangers is not Blue's Clues. Hasbro can't risk the entire franchise to fall one more time that no other company would ever want to touch it again. I mean, listen, maybe some other companies might feel that they've got a better viewpoint on what Power Rangers certainly might be if Hasbro isn't successful with this. I do think that Power Rangers probably will go on at some point in time. Who might pick it up after Hasbro? Who certainly knows? We'll see how the whole superhero genre thing continues over the next 10 to 15 years. If it still tends to be as stable as it is right now. But yeah, it's always that fear of Power Rangers not being successful again, and then we need to wash our mouth out once again of this terrible taste. We'll wait a few more years before we get anything else Power Ranger certainly related. Maybe the movie might glimpse a little bit in regards to the time travel practices. Maybe we might get some 90s type of thing. I don't know. They've changed the script, it feels like, since the last time we've had any information and details. That first script that always hinted at time travel has since then brought on a new writer, maybe one, maybe two new writers, who certainly knows. So whether or not we get a nostalgia factor, I am under the impression that this series, this reboot, this reimagining will very much be present day. I'm very much under the awareness of that. Like, if you were to ask me, Adam, what time period do you think this is? Oh, this is taking place in present day. It's taking place in present day. I think the idea, if the movie script calls for the 90s, I do think it'll be very much just a nostalgia trip, but very much taking place in modern day and also in the 90s, maybe back and forth at some point. Think of like a Back to the Future sort of scenario, right? It took place in modern day. He went back in time for a short period of time before coming back to present day in the finale. Maybe it's something along those lines that they're referring to. Again, we don't know if they're still going to be doing the 90s going back in time sort of mentality or not, since a lot has changed since that time. Haruki, we got two more emails left, I believe. Haruki, what do you think of Power Rangers Dino Fury being on Netflix so far? Any word on the rest of season 2? None as of right now. I know some people are hinting that maybe it might come back in June. After, if you think of the 11 weeks, or I think of 11 weeks just based off of one episode a week from Dino Fury, right? We had 11 episodes, so 11 weeks. Some people hinted at the idea of, could it drop in June? I don't know. I'm kind of on the impression it might drop, say, like July or August. Uh, I say like August, but who knows? Maybe that's a little bit too far out. Maybe they want to go ahead and knock out this season as soon as possible. I believe Simon Bennett's done. He's put it all together. I believe it's already in post production. If it's not already done in post production and ready to go. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the soonest we can expect it for season 2 is June, but again, we have gotten no confirmation or details yet. I'm not sure if you talked about this before, but you know how the showrunner of Dino Fury said Super Sentai Loop and Pack could not be used as Power Rangers because of too many Rangers and the climate we are in. If Power Rangers had already been on Netflix for a long while, do you think it would have been possible for the adaptation? I know Dino Charge had tons of Rangers, but severely underused due to Super Sentai footage. And I think also it's the idea of, there's just way too many characters to try and fit in the amount of time that you've got to tell stories. Can you fit every character in there? Yeah, but can you do them justice? Absolutely not. Just because they're on the screen doesn't mean anything. What's the impact that they have when they're on the screen? Is it moving? Is it are they really giving you a very detailed and outline understanding of who these characters are? I definitely don't think Dino Charge did that very well. And so I think the idea of bringing in a series like Q Ranger that was a plethora of characters, could you do it? Obviously, yeah, you absolutely can. Can you do it justice, though? I'm just not under the impression that they can. But had they been on Netflix for a long while, do you think it would have been possible for the adaptation? That I don't know. Had they dropped Nickelodeon like say 4 years ago and immediately went over to 4 or 5 years ago and immediately went over to Netflix. I don't know. I wonder if it's a case of because Netflix does allow you to have a creative freedom and get away with what you certainly want to creatively, could they have pushed the envelope and done something like a Loop and Pat or a Q Ranger? Maybe, but I do wonder if it's the case of staying true to what you think the brand is and the message you're trying to send the children per se, more than the idea of you just having the creative freedom to tell the story that you want, right? I think it's when it comes to the Loop and Pat Ranger stuff, I do think it's more a case of brand recognition, what you want your brand to be looked at as, right? Especially when it comes to 6-year-olds. I do think maybe Q Ranger maybe they could have gotten away with it Netflix wise. But I don't know. That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. I don't know if Netflix would have changed that so much as it is Hasbro wanting to stick with what they personally believe their viewpoint of their franchises and some things that they don't want to tackle. You know what I mean? So it just depends. It depends on Hasbro. Could Simon even handle that much members, even if we had new writers? The current writers are the same ones from them before, but are doing amazing with Dino Fury. I don't think so. I think Simon expressed himself enough. Could Simon handle that many members? I don't think Simon even thinks that he can. I think that's one of the reasons why he pushes that back. I think he can, but I don't think he would want to do the series a disservice. And I think that's really where Simon Bennett is coming from in regards to that of, could it be done? Yes. Could it be done in the way that fans would be pleased and happy with? Probably not. Probably not. And just because we want to see something adapted doesn't mean it needs to, just to see these people. If we're just asking to see these people, and don't care about the storyline or the impact and are just going to shit on Hasbro because they gave us a crappy storyline, but we as fans demanded they adapt this sort of thing, I think we're handcuffing and putting Hasbro in a catch 22 sort of situation there that fans just aren't going to be happy with it regardless. So just don't do it. So no, I don't think Simon could have done it. I don't think Hasbro could have done it in the way that we've had recently. I continue to stand by what Simon says. See what I did there? Brittany, what's up, Brittany Carrasco? I feel like we haven't seen you in a minute here, Brittany. With Power Rangers returning this summer. Hold on a second. With Power Rangers returning this summer after a 3-year hiatus due to the pandemic, what would you want to see that's new? And with Power Morphicon returning this summer, what would you like to see that's new and awesome? Better organization. I mean, I don't know. They do everything I love: photo ops, panels. They bring as many people as they possibly can. They even have areas where I think, don't they just have series on loops and episodes on loops and stuff? Like usually a section to, hey, if you want to watch this season of Power Rangers, go here at this time, sort of thing, right? Or watch this movie and just have it on constant loop and repeat throughout the weekend. Maybe start offering more smaller meet and greets, right? Like first 20, hey, the SPD group is going to have a meet and greet here on Saturday. Time Force meet and greet is going to be Sunday. Maybe make it like a limited offer of like 20 to 30 fans that get to go and have dinner or something like that, right? Like JDF and Catherine Sutherland did that one year here for fan days. I think one fan days out here in Dallas. They went to the convention, but JDF himself literally, I think, rented out like a back area of a pizzeria, and he had a meet and greet that was like 10 to 20 people. Like if you purchased additional tickets for a higher price or something like that, you literally got to go ahead and have, a pizza dinner with Catherine and JDF amongst with a bunch of other fans, sort of thing. Like that was pretty cool to me. And like even afterwards, we all hung outside, took pictures, goofed around a little bit. So little meet and greets like that, maybe it would be something that they can kind of add, something a little bit more intimate, smaller grouping sort of thing. Very first come, first serve. But if you do, you get to kind of have those experiences with Power Rangers. I think that's pretty cool, man. I think maybe something like that. You say information on the new reboot. And then season 2 of Dino Fury details. Shit, I'm hoping by the time we get to August, season 2 of Dino Fury is done. Like I'm really hoping by the time we get to Power Morphicon, season 2 has not only been dropped, but we're really preparing ourselves for the 30th anniversary. And who knows, maybe we could have a big announcement of the 30th anniversary there, especially if we're going to be getting returning characters possibly for the 30th anniversary. Maybe some of those people will actually be at Power Morphicon. So again, we'll see what happens. Maybe Hasbro will do a 30th anniversary panel there, and we'll get to see exactly not only introduced to who Yen is, but also maybe the returning characters that will actually make up the team itself. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We'll see. I will say this. Do I expect that now? I don't, just because, again, I do not know what Hasbro's connection is with Power Morphicon. So I am going to keep my expectations to a minimum in regards to that happening. Maybe if we get further details as the season or as the year progresses, maybe that might change. But I wouldn't mind seeing that. I definitely would not mind seeing that. All right, guys. I think other than Doomsday. I'm sorry, Doomsday. I think I almost missed your question. Are you glad that Ollie finally learned how to properly use his ears and now is a good listener? Yeah, homeboy should have used that Dino key to expand his hearing a little bit sooner in this season, if that's the case, right? But yes, it always pays to be a good listener, man. Listen to what people are saying. You much better understand who the person is, how to respond to people, and understand that maybe they know something that you certainly do not. We cannot always be all seeing, all knowing, can't always have that big head or certainly that big ego or that arrogance that Ali certainly brings. But it definitely feels as though he's been humbled. He's been taken down a couple notches, and hopefully we see ourselves a brand new Ali certainly going forward. But I am glad that he certainly learned his lesson, Doomsday. All right, man. I think other than that, I think that's everything. I think we got to everybody's questions, even from the previous week, also. So pat myself on the back, baby. But other than that, guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for us here today. I think, if anything, me and the girlfriend are probably going to be going out to another festival this afternoon. It's a little bit overcast. It's warm outside. I think maybe a little bit windy. I see the breeze kind of going. So it might be a nice little time to go out, hear some music, take little man out in the streets, and see what kind of food and art we can certainly find out there. I think some of the girlfriend's friends certainly might be joining us as well. So it should certainly make for a fun Saturday afternoon. Hopefully, wherever you guys are at, the weather is nice. Hopefully, you're enjoying your weekend, getting an opportunity to do some things. But we certainly will be back next week for you guys. We do have another live show tomorrow on our other page, A Plus Hero Report. Remember, guys, we do have about maybe 4 to 5 weeks left of A Plus More Phenomenal. And then after that, we will be transitioning majority of our Power Ranger talk over to our A Plus Hero Report YouTube page. There is a link in the description box below if you want to go ahead and check out that site and subscribe to us over there as well. We will definitely be talking Power Rangers movies, television, and 30th anniversary stuff over there whenever brand new information drops. The tokusatsu side of A Plus More Phenomenal, unfortunately, will be falling by the wayside. Any thoughts on tokusatsu I certainly might be having will probably get expressed over on either Twitter, in the Twitter spaces, or maybe even an IG live for you guys. But we will continue to at least do our Don Brother reviews in the beginning of the week for you guys. But once that's done on A Plus More Phenomenal, no new content will be dropping. So again, if you do want to follow my thoughts, at least in regards to Power Rangers, as Power Rangers reboots and reimagines as we embrace the 30th anniversary, I would highly suggest subscribing to A Plus Hero Report, guys. Other than that, there is a Discord forum community. If you guys would like to go ahead and further communicate with us outside of our YouTube page, you can certainly do that there. If you want to follow us on social media, right here at A Plus Opinions, you can find us very active over on Twitter, as well as Instagram, and our main hub, which is in fact our Facebook page, guys. So definitely go ahead and follow us there. If you haven't liked this video, like and comment after this video streams if you have any additional thoughts in regards to this week's episode. I do want to just jump in the comments real quick, live chat real quick. A couple last things here. Jericho says, please add the timestamps. Yes, as soon as I am available and have time to myself to go ahead and add timestamps, I will. Sometimes it happens immediately afterwards. Sometimes I get distracted with the little man, but I will put timestamps by the end of the day for sure. Let's see here. Common Writer says, you think once they stop adapting Sentai, the days of American tokusatsu adaptations will soon end? Maybe. We'll see what happens with Common Rider or Ultraman. I am kind of curious to see if either of those two will kind of step up in a more Americanized way. I do think Super Sentai has embraced that. Listen, they've got Super Sentai, and Hasbro is now creating Power Rangers, and that's grown globally, sort of thing. But as far as the next tokusatsu stuff, maybe Ultraman or Kamen Rider, just depending on how much of a push they really have going forward. Kamen Rider also says, honestly, I think it's good that we have those type of jerk characters. It's better than having bland, dull characters with no personality. I totally agree with you in regards to that. Ali is a fresh a sigh of relief, if you will, in the sense that we at least have some characters that are vastly different from one another. And I would even say the same thing from Izzy. Like, I know Izzy, some people push back Izzy in regards to just her personality. They're certainly not a big fan of her, which I understand and maybe rubs some people the wrong way. But I appreciate the independence of Izzy. I appreciate the idea of her knowing who she is and not somebody that's really going to let you trample all over them, if you will. She's definitely going to be very outspoken about her thoughts. And I kind of dig that about the Izzy character. It feels like a very fresh take on some Power Ranger characters. So I like that they're bringing them to life in that way. Emmanuel, what's up, Emmanuel? I appreciate you coming through. Adam, how do you think Real Soul Calibur will be introduced into the season, if adapted at all? Because it's cool and reminds Super Samurai mode. I do think that we're going to get it. I would assume, if anything, the second half. I don't think we had seen too much of it in Real Soldier, because it does come in very close towards the end of it does come in at the very end of Real Soldier. I do wonder if this is going to be something that like Zato discovers in Wrathcon, or Zato learns, in an attempt like, hey, Void Queen and the Centaur characters kicking our ass. We need all the powers that we can kind of get. I do wonder if Zato learns of an Excalibur sword of some type hidden in the depths of Wrathcon, really pushing him to have to find the planet again this time in order to get that caliber weapon, to maybe utilize against our foes here. So yeah, I do think it will be introduced this season. Maybe not this first half, but I definitely do think in the second half. And again, when I think of it, I think of maybe Zato on a mission once again to find this weapon. And in order to do so, you got to find Wrathcon first, in order to kind of get it. But that could just be me. We'll see what Simon Bennett and the writers intend to do. Datilla says Austin did do a separate meet and greet. We got to take a group photo with him and do a group morph. He did that at Power Morphicon 2016. So more of that, but just with a bigger variety of, listen, as a fan, we will have to pick and choose, right? Maybe they have look, if teams from past Power Rangers want to do things like that, I think do it more in a team organizational way. Like, if 3 out of the 5 members are down for doing that, then maybe have a meet and greet with the 3. You know what I'm saying? Of a Time Force, of a Jungle Fury, of a Mystic Force sort of thing. And then maybe have the fans have to pick and choose. Some of this stuff is, unfortunately, will probably overlap each other. You know what I'm saying? Because they are completely different groups. But I think that would be fun. I bet you probably had a fantastic time doing that, Detail. And I think more fans would love that hands-on interaction with their favorite actors. Byron says he gives this episode a 3.5 out of 5. Hopefully Santora turns into Eris really soon, and Tarek gets the brown Void Knight armor. We'll see how that brown Void Knight armor pops up in here. But a lot to certainly unfold when it comes to Dino Fury, guys, and I am pumped to get into all of it. So next week, Dino Fury Season 2, Episode number 8, we will be tackling with you guys. We probably even have an interview that I wind up reading for the stunt fight directors and stuff of Dino Fury. We'll probably talk about that a little bit next week as well, and any other information that winds up dropping this week. So we'll certainly see you guys next Saturday. If you want to see this handsome face again even sooner, join us on A+ Hero Report tomorrow, going live Sunday at noon Central Time. Other than that, I'll see you guys for Donbrothers later this week, and A+ More Phenomenal next week. But in the meantime, do me a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.